Yeah. Let's go. Hi, chat. Hello. Hello. How are you guys doing today? Game late. No, so sorry. Oh no, no. Sushi Ninja says, "Don't be gay, don't be gay. Please don't be gay." Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about that. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. And he says, "Hello." Trophy Wife saying, "In Tapper, Sean. Thank you. I try to be." Well, here it's kind of falling apart because I kind of got fucked on my hair appointment last week, 2 weeks ago now. We'll get that fixed Saturday. Fingers crossed because I really need to get it trimmed. I'm getting kind of like you guys can see it. It's in the back. Kind of looks like shit after a while, especially by the end of the day. So I can't remember. Says hi guys. Well, hello. I'm here for $2. Says, well, I'm gonna come second. Well, at that point, I guess you can come if you want. Are we talking about steel toe? No. I see you guys talking about it. I mean, all I could say is that sucks. I mean, I haven't been through a marriage and ending it. It's never fun. So, I mean, it sucks for them. Should make an F4 emoji. That would be a lot of fun. That would be pretty cool. Am I gonna plane foam again today? I don't think you get it. Like, I love airplanes. Airplanes are so cool. They are, art and engineering put together. I mean, they're just yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but airplanes are so fucking cool. They're so cool. So cool. YouTube alerts suck. Yes, they do. Like I said, guys, if you wanna get the best alert system of all, Twitch, based on 2.0's research and work, is the best. Miss Vanny says, "I'm a graphic artist. I'll make you an F4 emoji." Oh, you don't have to. If you want to, I would appreciate it, but certainly please don't feel obligated. Um, Also, Nico, I need to get in touch with you. I think you're here right now. Gonna need to get in touch with you coming up about something. And hold on here. I forgot to switch everything over before I went to the post office. All right. If you look down below, refresh YouTube, and you should see the contact information down below. Mandy, if you see it, it should be potentiallycriminal@gmail.com. Oh, and this is something American Dreamer been a member for 2 months. Thank you. They actually said Karen's name today. That's their way of dehumanizing her. That's their way of being big mad. I'm so mad at you. I won't even say your name. That woman, her, they, that's a little psychological warfare on their part. It happens. Drew 13 says, watch the opening to the right stuff. Yes, it's a phenomenal. Oh, yeah, it's if you guys haven't seen the right stuff, got Sam Shepard in it, Ed Harris. They got all kinds of people in it. Oh, they got Jeff Goldblum. The guy who plays Bull in Backdraft, or I mean, the guy who plays Axe in Backdraft. The guy who voices Mr. Burns and Ken Brockman on The Simpsons is in it. A lot of people are in it. A A lot of people are in it. It's a phenomenal movie. Although it's a sad movie, really. Um, it's kind of sad at the end what happens. How it starts off so promising and then who gets left behind. But yes, The Right Stuff is a phenomenal movie. You can watch it. Jackpot saying cheers, peeps. Yes. Mandy says I like doing it. Well, there you go. If you don't mind, then sure, please. The only rules for YouTube are they have to be, even though the emoji itself may not take up all the space on image, the image itself has to be a square. So 100 by 100, 200 by 200, 111 by 111, whatever that is, that's the requirement. Just so you know. Yes, I went postal. Yeah, you got a stick of Beemans? I'll p- I'll pay you when I get back. Mm, Um, and they have been defending the Alberts more. Oh, we'll see that. We'll see. 69 by 69. When will we have any updates on the Josh versus Rusty case? Well, there's finally some movement. If you guys were not aware, the Supreme Court denied certiorari for the 10th Circuit ruling, which kind of fucked up copyright law a little bit, and by a little bit, a lot. So the 10th Circuit is not going to hear it. Clarence apparently couldn't convince the rest of the Supreme Court to sneed a little bit. Russell Greer did file a motion down in Florida, which is hilarious. And yeah, we're gonna start going over that. And now that Noel's kind of in all set up, I may reach out to him and see if he's. Did my phone go off? Okay, hold on here. Okay, so we are gonna get going here. But yes, the Supreme Court denied it. And we're gonna go from there. But anyways, guys, day 11, Karen Reed. We are gonna continue with Caitlin Albert. They were getting ready to cross-examine her, and Miss Mandy says, "Are you a lawyer?" Yes, yes, I am. I am an attorney in Ohio, and specifically Cleveland, the Cleveland, Ohio area. More specifically, the eastern side of Cleveland. Um, Not like the east side of Cleveland, but the eastern half of Northeast Ohio. But yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah, I do a lot of criminal stuff. That's kind of, the whole potentially criminal thing. Um, I do a lot of other things as well. I do like divorces, like suing people, all that other fun stuff, which isn't really fun. The criminal stuff's the fun part. But yes, yes, I am. And the Supreme Court denied Kiwi Farms' attempt to get certiorari to be heard on the copyright case. So the Supreme Court's not going to hear their appeal. So it's done. I'm a crip. Always be crippin', man. ABC, always be crippin'. Or I don't know whatever they do. Yeah, always be crippin'. The lake effect side of Cleveland. Yes. Yes. All right, guys. So let's get ready. Day 11, Karen Reed. I'm a lawyer. I'm a gun tuber. I wish I was a gun tuber. Be like Grantham and get on the high test HGH and fucking roid out while playing with guns. That would be fun. Anyway, so guys, here we go. Day 11. Let's get this show on the road. Yes, that's the same Kiwi Farms case that got moved down to Florida. Where are my nods? Eventually, I'll buy some. Eventually, I'll be able to afford some someday. Oh, here we go, chat.
Ms. Giannetti, I just wanted to tell you that after reviewing my notes of the
You
testimony
literally just said hello to everybody, so that's where we're starting.
of Katie McLaughlin, my view hasn't changed, but I will give you a little bit of leeway with this witness.
Okay, I would like to define the parameters if I can, Your Honor, so that we.
All right, the jurors are on their way over. I don't think you need to define the parameters. When there are objections, they'll either be sustained or overruled. Okay?
Your Honor, there is one other thing that we need to put on.
All right, nobody told
Fine
me
with
that.
title.
All right, why don't you come here at sidebar and we'll do this.
Oh, wait, Caitlin Albert Jr. is just Caitlin Albert, not Jr. So, there was the issues about bringing up the affiliation between McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert. They're going to be going over that, and now it looks like they're talking about the guardrails. So here we go. Come on, I want to hear the guy. Yeah, yay, yeah, yay. All business before the Beverly Cannoli.
Good morning, jurors. I did
Close and ye
not
shall be
expect to
had.
have you come in and have us not be ready, but I do
Come close and ye shall be had.
appreciate your patience with us. I do have those 3 questions. Was everyone able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday?
Yes.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively.
No, we didn't get to
Were
hear
you
that.
also
Damn
able
it.
to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday?
I mean, seriously, that's my favorite part of these trials so far is that guy, the bailiff, what's his name? Bob or something. We missed it. Or they had it off.
No.
Everyone said no. All right, can we bring Ms. Albert back in, please?
Yeah, they shut off the sound. You had one job, sound guy. You had one job, and you didn't do it. Yes. Hearken unto Bev Cannoni. Gather close, and ye shall be heard.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and carrying the case now and hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. You can take a seat.
Good morning.
Can I proceed, Your Honor?
Sure.
Good morning, Ms. Albert.
Good morning.
Ms. Albert, I'd like to go back to a discussion of Katie McLaughlin.
Okay.
Yesterday, I asked you a 4-word question, and that question was, who is Katie McLaughlin? Do you recall that question?
I do.
You would agree with me that your response was not, she's a firefighter.
Correct.
Your response was not, she's a friend.
Correct.
Your response was not, I've known her for years.
Well, I sort of alluded to that when I said that I've known her since high school.
Right. Your response was that she was somebody that you knew in high school, correct?
I said that I went to high school with her and she's my same age. We graduated the same year.
Right.
Yes.
So you referenced high school, correct?
Yes.
All right. You would agree with me that you've seen her several times since high school, correct?
Yes.
You have hung out in the same group with her several times since high school, correct?
Yes.
And you graduated high school in 2014?
Yes.
It is now 2024?
Yes.
Your contact with Katie McLaughlin has been fairly consistent over the years in that it continued at least until 2021, correct?
I would agree with that, although it was far and few between. But
Is that
throughout the
because-
years, yes.
Do you say that because the photographs are far and few between?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right. You would agree with me that there was not a 3-year period prior to January 29th of 2022 where you didn't see Katie McLaughlin at all, correct?
a 3-year period.
Right.
I can't say 100% yes to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had seen her at some point in time over the past couple of years and before John O'Keefe's passing. Yeah,
Seen her a couple of times, does that mean that maybe you bumped into her and said hello?
it would mean that we would be in the same place at the same time, not something that I reached out and invited her to in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, again, we have mutual friends, so I would not be surprised if I went somewhere and she happened to be there as well.
Okay. And it would have been a surprise to you that she showed up at whatever place you were at in those 3 years? Is that your testimony?
No, it would not have been a surprise to
You
me.
would have known in advance that Katie McLaughlin was going to be at the same place that you were in advance.
Not necessarily, but
Ever in those 3 years?
Objection.
Sustained.
Isn't it true that only 8 months before January 29th of 2020, a baby shower together?
Objection.
Do you know that?
yes,
Go ahead and answer.
yes, we did.
You were. Whose baby shower was it?
It was a mutual friend of ours.
What's her name?
Her name's Alyssa.
And how many people were at that baby shower?
I can't say for sure. I mean, it was Alyssa's family
All right.
and a bunch of friends. I can't put a number on it.
The friends all gathered together and took a photo together with the woman having the baby shower, correct?
Objection.
Was there a photo taken?
I believe so.
You were in that photo, correct?
Yes,
Who was standing next to you?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, if you saw the photo, would that refresh your memory?
Yeah,
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you what has been marked.
Just show us.
Sorry, I was just going to identify it as S for identification for the record, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm showing you what's been marked S. Could you take a look at that and look up at me when you're done? May I approach?
Yes.
Having reviewed that photograph, Ms. Albert, who is standing next to you?
one of my friends is on the left of me and Katie McLaughlin is on the right of me.
Okay. She's right next to you in that photo, correct?
Yes, she is.
That was in June of 2021, correct?
Yes,
So if somebody testified that you hadn't seen each other in 3 years prior to January 29th of 2022, that would be wrong, right?
Objection.
Dan.
And with regard to the contact that you've had with her in terms of group events, you would agree with me that it wasn't just day trips that you took with her, correct?
correct.
You've also gone on road trips with her, correct?
I've gone away on trips that she was with. I didn't drive with her or go with her or invite her, but she has been there, yeah.
Okay, and what road trips have you taken overnight where you and Katie McLaughlin have been together since high school?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, have you not?
Objection.
So we need a time frame, Mr. Yannetti, not just
Sure.
10 years ago.
Since high school, you've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did you go to Maine with her?
I did, and the year would have been like 2015 or 2016.
If I suggested it was July of 2016, would that make sense?
That would sound about right, yeah.
And while you were in Maine, there were 7 of you in a hot tub together, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were in a hot tub with Katie McLaughlin in Maine, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Uh-oh, here we go. I know where he's going, but I feel like he could tighten that up a little bit more. She was told they were photos. I'm sure she knows the photos are out there now. She's getting time copped. Do you have her phone number in your phone? That'd be funny if they cloned her phone number and then called her in. Yo, she's getting red. She's getting red. Yes, she is. So let's
You'd mentioned you'd mentioned that you'd been to Maine with Katie McLaughlin in 2016. Where was it in Maine?
I'm not sure the exact town.
Right. Probably 4 hours away.
I'm not sure how long it took to get up there.
It wasn't 10 minutes away.
No.
Right? And it wasn't a half hour.
No,
All right. It was more than 2 hours, correct?
maybe.
And you drove, correct?
Yes.
How many days did you spend in Maine?
I'm not sure, maybe two.
All right. So you were up in Maine over a weekend
Yep.
with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Yes, as well as a bunch of other friends.
Oh, of course. But the answer to my question is you were with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
How many times have the two of you been to the beach together since high school?
Objection.
Do you know? If you can answer that, go ahead and answer.
I know that we have been to a beach together, but I don't know how many times. I could guess.
Don't guess.
Okay.
Next question, Ms.
You
Tianetti.
said a beach. Does that mean that the two of you only go to one particular beach?
No,
No, you've gone to multiple beaches with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
not that I can remember. I can't remember how many times. I have one memory, but I can't say
One
for sure
memory?
how many times I've been to a beach with Katie McLaughlin.
Okay.
God, she is trying.
If I showed you a
Why is it so hard just to say yes? God damn, girl. Just say yes. You are making this way too fucking hard. You're not being accused of murder here. Your brothers or your dad might be, but you ain't. Come on.
photograph of the two of you on a beach together in bikinis, would that refresh your memory?
Objection.
Ms. Tianetti, you can show her a photograph.
Thank you. If I may approach.
Yes.
That was slick. That was very slick.
Again, I'm showing you S for identification.
Because you know
one
what?
particular photo.
Jury's not going to get
in
to see it,
S.
but they heard the
Take a look at that and look
description.
up at me when you're done. Does that refresh your memory?
Yep.
That was a very smart move because the jury's going to hear it. They know what it's about, but they don't get to see it. I don't think. But God, there's judges I'd have been in front of, like, Mr. Martin, approach. I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? So he got away with that one. That's pretty good.
That particular photo that I showed you from S for identification, what beach was that?
I don't know the name of the beach.
Where was it?
I believe somewhere in the Cape.
And Katie McLaughlin is in that photo, correct?
Yes, along with a bunch of other friends.
Of course, there are other
My
friends. But
beach friend.
Ms. Tianetti, please no more, of course.
of course, you're on. With regard to that photo, once again, you are right next to Katie McLaughlin. Were you not? Right in back of her?
She's in front of me, yes, and the mutual friends that I already said that we have are also in the photo.
Of course. Let me ask you this. Has anybody in
So
this,
jurors are going to strike that, of course.
has anybody in this courtroom today asked you about the other mutual friends who were there? Did I ask you today whether there were other mutual friends in that photo?
Objection.
Sustained.
You added that to your answer, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
Yes,
Who are your college roommates?
Objection.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Who were your college roommates?
Yeah, it's sustained.
How many college roommates did you have?
Objection.
Sustained.
Fair to say that Katie McLaughlin has been with you and your college roommates.
yes.
When was that?
2015, 2016?
And there were two college roommates that you and Katie McLaughlin were with, correct?
I had multiple college roommates at that time, and two of them were the mutual friend that Katie and I share.
And in fact, there was an occasion where you were in a kitchen with your two college roommates and one other person, correct?
Objection.
Need a time frame or something, Ms. Tianetti?
Or that was around 2016, was it not?
That sounds about right, yes.
And do you recall which college roommates they were?
Objection.
Sustained.
And someone took a photo of you, your two college roommates, and one other person, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
In 2016.
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Okay.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you another photo from S for identification, ma'am. If you look at that and look up at me when you're done. Who's in that photo?
Myself, two of my college roommates, and Katie McLaughlin.
Okay. So Katie McLaughlin's the only one in that photo who's not one of your roommates, correct?
Yes.
And was this a situation where she just showed up unexpectedly like all the other times? You had no idea she was going to be there?
Objection.
Ask the question differently. That it's sustained in that form.
Thank you, Honor. Did you expect, by the way, whose kitchen is that?
It was the college house that I lived in.
It's your kitchen.
The house we were renting, yes.
You lived in that kitchen.
Yes.
And Katie McLaughlin's in your kitchen, correct?
Yes.
Who invited Katie that day?
The two mutual friends that I lived with.
Okay. Certainly you didn't invite Katie, correct?
I did not.
Because you're not close friends with her at all, correct?
I am not.
In fact, you don't really like her very much, do you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You guys were teammates on the track across country
Why
team
you
back in
always
high school, correct?
lying?
I don't recall that, actually. We could have been. I'm not sure.
If I may approach?
Yes.
Why you all? Oh my God!
Once again, place S for identification before you, ma'am. If you look at the first page and then the second page.
Oh my God! Stop fucking lying! You could see some panic on her face as she's
Yes.
reading this and looking at it.
Having reviewed those 2 pages, does that refresh your memory about your teammate, Katie McLaughlin?
Yes, it does.
And you certainly were teammates in high school, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that that relationship continued in terms of your contact with her all the way up through 2021, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer the photos that are in S for identification as full exhibits in this trial at this point.
Objection.
The objection sustained.
What? Oh, come on.
You should put those back up with the clerk, Ms. Giannetti.
Yeah, I understand why she did that, but
Now,
I think that's kind of horse shit.
you testified that you knew Brian Higgins prior to January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
You knew him as a good friend of your father's, correct?
Yes.
He arrived at 34 Fairview Road, your parents' home, on January 29th of 2022 after you got there, correct?
Again, yes, because me and my parents were the first ones inside from what I remember.
Did you see what Brian Higgins drove to get there?
I did not.
You did not see where he parked his vehicle.
I did not.
At some point, you saw him inside the home, correct?
Yes.
And he made it into the kitchen and dining room area where you were, correct?
Yes.
You agree that at some point, Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, left that area to go to another room, correct?
Yes.
So it's fair to say there was at least some portion of the night when Brian Higgins and your father were out of your field of vision, correct?
I don't agree with that because the room that I had seen them go into has an open doorway and you can see right into the family room that they were in. So I could actually see them in there.
Gotcha. How long were you there when Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were there?
Inside the family room?
I'm talking from that whole night. When you're at 34 Fairview, how much time lapsed between the time you first saw Brian Higgins and Brian Higgins left the residence?
I can't say for sure. If I had to estimate, I'd say an hour and a half.
Okay. And so your testimony before this jury is for that full hour and a half, there was no time when Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were out of your field of vision.
Not that I can remember.
Now, earlier that evening on Friday, January 28th, you made plans to go out with your mom, Nicole Albert, your aunt, Julie Albert, and your boyfriend, Tristan Morris, correct?
Yes.
From the beginning of that night, the plan was for Tristan to go home early, correct?
Yes.
And that was because he had to get up early to plow or shovel, correct?
Yes.
He had to get up really early, correct?
Yes.
The plan was for him to shovel or plow at 3 a.m.?
He was, from what I recall, he was on standby for like 3. It could have been any time after that.
Oh, I see. So it could have been that he had to get up at 3 or maybe a little bit later, correct?
Yes.
And it was for that reason that when he was at the waterfall with you, he only had a couple of drinks, correct?
From what I remember, yes.
And from the beginning of the night, you knew that it was going to be iffy as to whether he would be able to get much sleep at all, correct?
It wasn't really something we discussed.
Well, the reason he was going home early and only having a couple of drinks was to see if he could catch some sleep before what would be a very difficult work morning, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that in order for him to get any sleep, he couldn't stay at the waterfall very long, correct?
Yes.
And that's why he left early.
Yes, he went home to rest. We didn't speak about whether or not he would be sleeping.
It wouldn't shock you if he tried to go to sleep.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
You stayed believing that Tristan was going to try and rest and sleep, correct?
Yes.
And the plan when he left you was that you wouldn't see him again until after he was done with his plowing that morning, correct?
That's incorrect.
Okay. So is it your testimony that the plan from the beginning was that Tristan was going to drive from Canton to Easton and get some rest, and then drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up so that he could take you back from Canton to Easton? That was the plan?
It may not have been set in stone, but it was definitely spoken about, and then that's what ended up happening. Yes.
What?
Have you ever told anyone that before, Ms. Albert, that the plan from the start of the night was that Tristan was going to make 4 trips total from Canton to Easton?
That's a lot of
Easton to
driving.
Canton to Easton. Have you ever told anyone that before?
I don't remember if I mentioned that to anybody.
That was the first time you've ever said that just now before this jury. Would you agree with that?
Ooh.
I believe so.
Almost 2.5 years after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you decided at 1:45 in the morning that it was important for you to get home?
At 1:45, around that time is when Tristan picked me up, a little bit after that, but I didn't want to get snowed in at my parents' house.
It was important for you to leave 34 Fairview, correct?
I wouldn't say important, but it was something that I wanted to do.
It was
Yes.
important enough for you to leave, correct?
Yes.
And you made the decision to have Tristan drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up, correct?
Yes.
How far is it from Easton to Canton?
From our apartment in Easton to 34 Fairview Road is about 18, 19 minutes.
Okay, and that's when there's not a snowstorm on site, correct?
Correct.
Of course, in a major snowstorm, you certainly can't drive as
Chat, it
carefree
is
as you can when
roughly
you're driving in good road
It's
conditions, correct?
roughly
Right.
from Canton to East. It's
And
about
your
10 miles.
boyfriend was making that trip multiple times that night, correct?
Yes.
When Tristan picked you up at 1:45 a.m., did you bring Chloe out of the house with you to take to your apartment?
No.
Okay. On January 29th of 2022, you were there at your parents' house from around midnight until about 1:45?
About a little bit after 1:45, yes.
Okay, and during that span of time, almost 2 hours, you never saw anyone pull up outside, correct?
I personally did not.
No. And you personally did not look out the window either, correct?
No, I did not.
And you personally never heard anything out of the ordinary outside, correct?
That is correct.
Right. You never heard any yelling, correct?
That is correct.
No screaming,
Correct.
nothing smashing into anything else,
Correct.
no revving of tires,
Correct.
no noises outside,
Correct.
nothing attracted your attention.
Correct.
You never saw any vehicle backup lights.
Correct.
You never saw any
Okay.
red lights outside.
Correct.
You heard zero evidence of anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been some type of car accident outside.
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Ms. Tannen.
You didn't hear a car accident.
Objection.
Ask it differently.
When you left 34 Fairview at 1:45, which door did you use?
I think I walked out the front door.
And the front door, could I have exhibit 66, Mr. Davis? With the court's permission, may that be
Sure.
displayed? Do you recognize exhibit 66 as being a depiction of your house?
Yes.
The front door to your home, there are actually two of them, correct?
Yes.
And but when you say the front door, you're referring to the door that's lit up in that photo?
Yes.
You can take that off the screen. I'd like to ask you some questions about what you saw or didn't see within the first couple of seconds while you were stepping outside. Coming out the front door of your house, you would agree with me that your parents.
Guys, she's not that bad when it comes to ask the question differently. He's asking it in a way that is objectionable, and she's saying ask it differently. She's kind of helping him, but that's a good judge is going to kind of guide it. So no, he's just asking questions that he could clean up and tighten up a little better. And notice he tightens it up. So no, this part she's actually doing fine.
Front lawn is directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
By that time, snow had started to accumulate at 1:45 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
I did not.
As you stepped out of the house, did
Black.
you see a black sneaker?
Baseball cap.
I did not.
Did you see 45 pieces of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
No. Did you see one piece of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
Did you see a 6'2" man on your parents' front lawn in front of you?
Objection.
Did you? I did not.
You saw nothing unusual on that front lawn of your parents' home, did you?
I did not.
Now, Tristan had parked in the driveway, correct?
I believe so.
When I say Tristan, I'm referring to Tristan Morris, who was your boyfriend, right?
Yes.
As you face the house, that driveway is to the right, correct?
Yes.
And as you're coming out of the house, the driveway is to the left, which makes sense, right?
Yes.
Where in the driveway was Tristan Morris parked?
I don't remember if he was on the left. My guess would be the left side of the driveway because that would have been closest to me walking out of the house. But I can't say for sure exactly where he was parked in the driveway.
Okay. In any case, you walked to his vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And actually, when I say his vehicle, it was actually your vehicle, right?
Correct.
That was the Jeep that you had at that time?
Yes.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, you would agree with me there were no obstructions between you and your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, again, no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red taillight, and no 6'2" man did you see on your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there were no strike that. After you got into the vehicle, you got into the passenger's side
Yes,
because you had been drinking that night, correct?
yes,
And it wouldn't have made sense for you to drive home to Easton, correct?
correct.
So Tristan Morris backed your Jeep out of the driveway, correct?
Yes,
And the tail end of that Jeep, when he backed out, would have gone toward Cedar Crest, correct?
correct.
Which would mean that the car was now facing toward the Chapman Street side, correct?
Yes,
And that would mean that your Jeep, being driven by Tristan, would have driven directly by your parents' full property line, correct?
correct.
And you were on the passenger's side of the car, correct?
Correct.
The passenger's side was closest to your parents' front lawn as you were driving away, correct?
Yes,
And you drove past the front lawn, correct?
yes,
You drove past the flagpole, correct?
yes,
And in all that time from when Tristan Morris pulled out of the driveway and drove right by your parents' front lawn, you never saw anything of the things that I previously asked you about, correct?
I did not, but I also was not looking.
You saw no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red plastic, and no 6'2" man, correct?
Correct, but I also was not looking out my window.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did anybody in this courtroom ask you if you were looking out your window?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
That was an answer to a question that nobody asked you, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, at this point, you would agree with me that you've essentially circled your parents' front lawn, right?
Yes,
Yeah, you came out the front door and were facing the front lawn, correct?
correct,
Then you're walking to the left, which means that the front lawn is to your right, correct?
correct,
Then you're backing up out of the driveway, which means the front lawn is still to your left, correct?
correct,
And when Tristan pulls the car such that when Tristan Morris pulls the car such that the car is now operating parallel to your front lawn, now the front lawn's to your right, correct?
correct.
And with regard to all of that time that you were circling that front lawn, you never saw anybody or anything out of the ordinary on that lawn, correct?
I did not.
And you also didn't see any tire tracks in the snow, did you?
Not that I can remember.
Let me have a moment.
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Now, turning your attention back to yesterday, you were asking questions about Courtney Proctor, is that right?
Yes.
And you were asked about whether or not you met her kids, and you said once. Can you explain that?
From what I can remember, I forget exactly where I was, but my aunt Julie Albert had pulled up in her car, and I was talking to her, and she had the two kids in her back seat. I think she may have been babysitting them. I didn't ask for specifics, but she rolled down the back window, and that's when I met the two kids, and that was it.
Okay, but how many years ago was that?
I can't say for sure, but definitely like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe.
The one time while they were in the backseat of your car for a couple minutes years ago.
Yes,
Had you ever met Michael Proctor prior to the day that he came in, or that he conducted an interview with you?
never.
Now, as you were walking into the house, your testimony is that you saw Colin Albert walking out of the house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Without getting too much into it, as far as photographs of you on a high school track team, that would have been sometime prior to your graduation in 2014, correct?
Yes.
And about how many people were on your track team?
Over 30, maybe. About 30.
Now, when you were at the house at 54 Fairview Road on the early morning of the 29th, your father, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins were out of the room, being the kitchen and the dining area for some period of time, correct?
Correct.
And about how long period of time are we talking about?
Minutes. I would say at most, maybe like 5 minutes. At most.
Now, you were shown a drawing, essentially, in Exhibit 66 of your parents' house at 34 Fairview Road, up on the screen just now.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that before?
That exact photo? I don't believe so.
Do you know whether or not that was even a photo, or would you be surprised if that was some sort of drawing or rendering of the house?
Yeah, I can't say for sure where that came from or what it is. I don't believe I've seen it before. Could you rephrase the question? Sorry.
That's fine. My other question is, did you happen to notice in that particular drawing that there were lights on near the front door and lights on near the garage? Do you recall that?
I did notice that, yes.
Do you recall whether or not those lights were on or those lights even exist at the time that you were exiting the house on January 28th?
I don't recall. I can't say for sure if those lights were on.
Now, you were asked some questions about exiting the house and coming over to Tristan's car, getting in, your car that Tristan was driving, and then backing out of the driveway and driving away. At any point in time, did you look over to the unlit area on the left side of your parents' property near the flagpole?
Objection, sir. Objection.
Form the question differently, Mr. Lally.
When you walked out the front door, where was your attention directed?
When I walked out the front door, I recall somewhat looking down, trying to make sure I didn't slip. The ground was completely covered with snow at that point. And then my direction was towards Tristan's car, so to the left. Then once I got in the car, I was turned again to the left, speaking with him for the majority of the first couple minutes of our car ride back home to Easton.
Now, so when you exit the door, you come onto the brick steps, correct?
Yes,
And the brick steps are covered in snow at that point.
yes.
Do you recall what you were wearing on your feet? Were they high heels, flats?
I think I had high heel like boots on, something of that nature.
You're walking down the brick steps that are covered in snow in high heel boots, correct?
Yes,
And then you're walking over to your car and getting in the passenger side, correct?
yes.
And at any point in time, at any point in time in any of the sequence, do you have any reason to look over to the front yard area of your parents' home in the area of the flagpole?
I did not.
And then you get in the car and you're driving away and you're talking to Tristan, is that correct?
Yes,
And so Tristan is driving, you're in the passenger seat, is that correct?
yes,
So you're looking at him but away from the front lawn as you're driving away, correct?
yes.
Nothing further.
Very briefly, Judge.
Okay.
Maybe you just testified that the one time that you saw Courtney Proctor's kids, they were with your aunt Julie Albert, correct?
Yes,
And you just testified that that was about 2 or 3 years ago, correct?
that was an estimate. I can't say for sure, but yes.
It wasn't 10 years ago.
No,
2 or 3 years ago, that right now it's May 14th of 2024. 2 years ago would be May 14th of 2022.
yes,
3 years ago would have been May 14th of 2021, correct?
correct.
Nothing further.
Okay, you are all set, Ms. Albert.
Thank you.
Mr. Lally, who is your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Mr. Tristan Morris to the stand.
Why, just step right there?
Yep.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the evidence of the court during the case now here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, whenever you are ready, Mr. Lally. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Tristan Morris, Morris,
And Ms. Morris, where do you live?
Easton,
And who, if anyone, do you live there with?
Caitlin Albert.
And what is the nature of your relationship with Caitlin?
She's my girlfriend.
And how long have the two of you been together?
Roughly 8 years.
God, he looks like he's like, I'm a dead man. My life is over. I mean, real quick though, chat. What do you guys think? This. I mean, that they got something out of Caitlin, but they didn't get a ton. They didn't get as much as I thought they would. They didn't get as much as I thought they would.
And with respect, well, let me ask you this. Do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for it?
I'm a union pipe fitter.
And
Oh, that's good. That's a good paying job, pipe fitting.
how long have you been doing that?
6 years.
Now, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022, into the following early morning of the 29th. Do you recall that day?
Early morning of the 29th?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what days of the week those were?
Friday and Saturday, I believe.
And on that particular Friday, what, if any, plans did you have yourself and your girlfriend, Caitlin Albert?
For me, it was just an ordinary day. I went out and I met them for a drink.
And about what time?
So I'm going to ask you to keep your voice down, okay?
Okay.
So you indicated you went and met them. Who is that?
My girlfriend, Caitlin, and that's all I remember.
And do you recall where it was that you went?
Waterfall Bar and Grill.
That's somewhere that you and Caitlin had been to before.
Yes, multiple times.
And do you have any idea what time that was on the 28th?
I don't recall.
And do you recall who, if anyone else, was there in addition to yourself and your girlfriend, Caitlin?
No, I do not.
Do you recall whether or not either of her parents were there?
I don't remember.
You're familiar with her parents, though? Is that fair to say?
Yes, I am.
You're familiar with their family, correct?
Yes, I am.
And if you recall, about how long was it that you were at the waterfall that evening?
I couldn't estimate, but it wasn't that long.
And wasn't that long? Why? What was it that caused you to leave that?
Later that night, I had to go plow. I was supposed to wake up pretty early.
And as far as plowing, is that something that you do sort of on the side on a fairly regular basis? Or?
Yes. When I can do it, I do it. It's extra money.
And how is it that, what if any relationship you have with the company that you're doing sort of plowing or shoveling for?
It's my landlord's company.
And is that, when you say plowing, is that sort of residences, businesses, or something else?
All of those. Residence, houses, anything, businesses, could be any of them.
So it could be a commercial parking lot, could be a condo, could be a business park, any of those things?
Correct.
And about what time was it, if you know, that you were supposed to sort of be ready or on call to go out to?
So we were waiting for the snow. I just had to be on call for 3 to 4 in the morning, just have my phone on standby and be ready to go. Just how it always is.
And so when you left, or when you went to the waterfall in Canton, at that time, was it snowing?
I don't believe so.
And when you left the waterfall to go home, why did you went home to rest? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I needed to sleep. Yes.
And when you left the waterfall to go home to Easton to get some rest or to get some sleep, was it snowing at that point?
I don't remember.
And at some point prior to you going out and either plowing or shoveling early that morning, who, if anyone, was contacted?
Can you repeat the question, please?
After you went home to rest or get some sleep, well, first of all, were you able to get any sleep?
Barely.
And while you were home in Easton, who, if anyone, was reaching out to you?
Yes, my girlfriend.
And so your girlfriend, Caitlin, was it calling, texting? How was she reaching out to you?
I believe both.
And about what point in the evening did you start to get calls or texts from her?
I don't remember.
And at some point, based on those calls and texts, what, if anything, did you do?
Can you elaborate?
At some point, did you leave Easton and go back to Canton?
Yes, I did.
And do you have any recollection of when that was over the course of the evening or the early morning?
No, I don't remember a time.
And in relation to when you got, let me ask you this, as far as the calls and the texts that you received from your girlfriend, Caitlin, was that one or two, or were they repetitive?
There was a couple different texts, yeah.
And over the course of about how long a period of time? Was it all within a couple minutes or half hour, hours? If you know?
I don't recall.
And after receiving those, you went to somewhere in Canton, correct?
Yes,
And where did you go?
34 Fairview Road.
Are you familiar with that address?
Yes, I am.
And familiar with it because at some point during the time that Caitlin were dating before you moved in together, she lived there, correct?
Correct.
And about how long a drive is that from where you live in Easton to 34 Fairview Road?
21 to 25 minutes, I would say.
And do you recall what vehicle you were driving on that occasion?
I do. I was driving a white Jeep Cherokee.
And whose white Jeep Cherokee is that?
Caitlin's.
And did you have a vehicle at that time?
I did.
And what kind of vehicle did you have?
I believe it was a Ford Fusion.
Fairly older Ford Fusion.
2012, yes.
And so why was it that you took your girlfriend's Jeep Cherokee versus your older Ford Fusion?
It drives way better in the snow.
And so when you left your apartment in Easton to drive to 34 Fairview in Canton, was it snowing at that point?
It was.
Okay,
Can you
hold on one second. Mr. Yannetti, can you? Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. So when you were driving from Easton to Canton, it was snowing. Do you recall how much snow had come down at that point?
I don't recall.
And what, if anything, do you recall about sort of the snow that was on the ground in relation to how you drove from Easton to Canton?
I was very cautious. I was 10 and 2 the whole time.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether you parked on the street or the driveway? Or?
No, I don't know.
And when you arrived, what, if anything, did you communicate to Caitlin?
I just told her I was here.
Was that through a text or a call? If you know?
Text, it would be.
You pull up at some point, park somewhere, text her your correct?
Yes.
And at some point, she comes out of the house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you ever get out of the car or go up to the house or go inside the house or anything like that?
No, I did not.
And how much time was it between the time that you texted her that she was here to the time that she came out?
I don't remember.
Was it a long time or anything like that?
No, it wasn't.
And when she comes out, do you recall sort of where within the front of the house she came out?
No, I don't remember.
You're familiar with 34 Fairview, though, correct?
I am.
And there's a couple of different doors on the front of the house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you don't recall specifically which door she came out of?
No, I did not.
And when she came out, she came over to the car, correct?
Correct.
She gets in. Which part of the car did she get in?
The passenger,
Front seat passenger?
front seat passenger.
And at some point, you're leaving from 34 Fairview and you're going back to East, correct?
Correct.
Was there any sort of delay or any sort of long period of time that you were in the car in front of the house after Caitlin gets in the car?
No,
So essentially, she gets in and you pull away.
correct.
And when you pull away from the house, where do you recall which direction you went into to go back to East?
I went up Fairview Road.
And so up Fairview Road would be sort of heading towards Chapman Street, is that correct?
Yes.
And so as you're going by the house, which side of the vehicle would have been facing the house? The driver's side of the vehicle or the passenger side?
Can you repeat that?
As you're going by the property at 34 Fairview Road,
Yeah.
which side of the Jeep that you were driving was facing 34 Fairview Road? Was
The
it
left.
your side or her side?
My side would be facing the street. If I'm coming down, my side would be facing the left side.
And what I'm asking is when you're driving away,
Away, yes, the passenger side would be facing her house.
and as you were coming there, would it be the driver's side or your side that was facing the house? If you recall which way you came.
I don't recall.
But as you were leaving the house, Caitlin's side or the passenger side will be facing the house, correct?
Correct.
And as far as the snow that's coming down as you're driving away, what if anything did you have to do with regard, or what if anything did you do with regards to the vehicle? Did you turn anything on or anything as you were driving?
No, I did not.
So did you have a defroster on?
Yes,
And did you have windshield wipers on?
correct.
So the snow was coming down at least at a pace that you had the windshield wipers on, correct?
Yes,
And during that drive, specifically on Fairview Road, but at any point during your drive to Fairview and from Fairview, do you recall anything as far as how the roads were they treated? Did you see plows out, anything like that?
I don't recall.
If I may have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Now, as far as when Caitlin gets into your car, how would you describe her demeanor?
Not
She gets in the car, is it fair to say you guys haven't seen each other for a couple hours, you start talking?
correct.
And so when you're talking, you're driving, she's in the passenger seat, is that correct?
It's correct.
And was she facing you while you were talking to her as you were
Yes.
pulling away?
Guys, I forgot to change that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sorry, it's not Caitlin Albert, guys. Sorry.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
You've been dating Caitlin Albert for 7 to 8 years now.
Correct.
The two of you now live together.
Correct.
Are you still living in Easton?
Yes.
How long have you lived together for?
3 years.
When you first met her, where was she living?
Canton,
Where in Canton?
34 Fairview.
She was living there with her parents at the
I'll
time?
re-update.
Correct.
this.
Brian and
Sorry.
Nicole Albert?
Yes.
You met her parents, Brian and Nicole Albert, several years ago, correct?
Correct.
You've met all of Caitlin's siblings as well?
Correct.
You've spent time at their house?
Yes.
You've spent holidays with them?
Yes.
And you've been over there on weekends, correct?
Yes.
It's fair to say that over the last 7 or 8 years, you've been with the Albert family quite a bit, correct?
Yes.
And you've also been with the McCabe family, correct?
Yes.
And even though you're not married, you consider yourself just about one of the family, correct?
Yes.
Since John O'Keefe's death, you have continued associating with both the Alberts and the McCabe's, correct?
Yes.
Because you're still dating and living with Caitlin, correct?
That is correct.
And in June of 2022, a few months after John O'Keefe's death, you went to Ned Devine's in Boston
Discord
with
fixed.
many, many men in the family, correct?
Yes.
That includes the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
And that includes the McCabe's.
Yes.
Do you recall who was there that night?
No, I don't.
I showed you a photograph from that night. Would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
May I approach on?
Yes.
Ella, you're welcome to join if you're here. You can join us anytime.
I placed a photograph before you take a look at that and look up at me when you're done?
Yes,
Does that refresh your memory about who was there that night?
it does.
By the way, how many people are in that photograph?
Do you want me to count?
With the court's permission.
Count.
Okay, go ahead and count. And after you count, let's mark this for identification, please.
Yes.
12 people, including myself.
Okay, if I could have that marked for ID.
12, including myself.
Thank you.
You would agree with me, sir, that at that night at Ned Devine's in Boston, everybody there was, except for you, was either an Albert or a McCabe?
Yes, that's correct.
And the photo that you or somebody decided to take was all of you with your fists clenched, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you clench your fists that night?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did all of the Alberts and McCabe's clench their
Objection.
fists that night?
Sustained.
That photo was posted to social media, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And it was posted by somebody named Kevin Reardon? Reardon?
My girlfriend's cousin.
He's actually the son of one of Nicole and Julie Albert's sisters, correct?
Yes.
And you've met him as well, correct?
Why is this freezing up?
And do you recall the date that that photograph was posted to social media?
No, I don't.
I showed you Z
I hope
for
you're feeling better,
identification.
Hella.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Did you find a shark in the bathroom?
And I'll take it back from you. You've had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Having reviewed Z for identification, does that refresh your memory as to the date of the posting of that photograph?
Yes.
Were you aware at that time that, and by the way, what date was it?
You just showed me.
I know, and I'm asking you to tell the
Tell me
jury
what date.
June 5th, it was dated.
of 2022.
Yeah.
Were you aware that June 5th of 2022 was 4 days before Karen Reed was indicted for this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained.
Were you and the Alberts and the McCabe's celebrating the indictment of Karen Reed?
Objection.
Were you?
No.
Thank you.
You've never testified before any grand jury regarding this case, correct?
I haven't.
You've never testified previously in any hearing regarding this case, correct?
I haven't.
You were at 34 Fairview Road in Canton at 1:45 in the morning or about 1:45 on January 29th of 2022, correct?
That's okay, Hella.
I don't remember the time.
Was it wildly different than 1:45 in the morning, or was it somewhat close to that?
I'm not going to make up a time. I don't remember.
Was it 9 p.m. on the 28th?
I don't remember times.
So if I asked you if you were there to pick up your girlfriend Caitlin at 9 p.m. on January 28th, you couldn't say if that's true or false?
No, because I'm not making up a time.
Okay, so it could have been 9 p.m. that you were there, not 1:45 in the morning.
I didn't say that.
Well, you've just said that you can't rule out that it was actually 9 p.m. on the 28th, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that? Did you say that?
I didn't say anything. I don't remember the time.
No, I understand.
So I'm not going to make up a time.
Hold on. Only one person can speak at a time.
I don't, it could have been later, could have been early. I don't know a time.
Right, but it couldn't have been 9 p.m. on January 28th. Could it have been?
I don't know.
Okay. What time were you at the waterfall?
I don't remember.
Were you at the waterfall?
Yes, I was.
On what date?
The 28th.
Was it in the morning?
It was at nighttime.
It was at night, okay. What time did you leave the waterfall?
I don't remember.
Did you leave at 5 p.m.?
I don't remember.
So it could have been 5 p.m. that you left.
Could have been 5 in the morning. I don't know.
Okay. Leaving aside what time it was, or strike that. Will you testify that you were at 34 Fairview Road on January 29th after midnight
I don't remember the time.
Okay. But you do remember being there, correct?
At the waterfall?
No, at 34 Fairview.
I remember picking my girlfriend up, yes.
You do. Okay, so you've testified to that, right? Today.
Yes,
And when you were there, you had an opportunity to see the front lawn to that property, did you not?
yes.
You pulled into the driveway.
I don't remember where I pulled into.
Okay, did you pull into any place when you got there?
I don't remember where I pulled into.
So you say you don't remember where you pulled into. That wasn't my question. My question was, did you pull in any place when you got to 34th Fairview?
Well, I had to pick my girlfriend up, so yes, I did.
Well, then I know where he pulled
Was
in.
there any place other than the driveway to pull into when you got to 34 Fairview?
No,
So it had to be the driveway, right?
must have been.
When you pulled into the driveway, you waited a period of time for Caitlin, correct?
Yes,
And how long a period of time was that?
I don't remember.
Was it more than a half hour?
No,
Was it more than 10 minutes?
I don't remember.
It could have been more than 10 minutes.
Probably wasn't.
And when you say probably wasn't, that means it probably was less than 10 minutes, correct?
I don't remember the time.
During that time that you were waiting for Caitlin to come out of the house while you were in the driveway, there was nothing obstructing your view of the front lawn, correct?
Nope,
All right. And shifting gears for a second, this was on January 29th of 2022, correct?
yes,
And ultimately, you did pick up Caitlin and take her back to Easton, correct?
correct.
On January 29th, at any point that day or night, Trooper Michael Proctor never interviewed you, correct?
Correct,
Nor did he interview the next day or the day after that, correct?
correct,
Or the month of February, correct?
Wow.
correct,
Or the entire year of 2022, correct?
correct,
Wow.
Or the entire year of 2023, correct?
correct.
The first time any investigator of this case interviewed you was May 7th of 2024, correct?
Jeez.
When was that? I don't,
That was 1 week ago. That was last Tuesday.
correct.
God.
You were aware
That's not
at the
good,
time
Dad.
you were being interviewed for the first time by any investigator.
Wow.
This case had already started.
Yes,
You were aware that this jury heard opening statements from both counsel on April 29th, which was over a week before May 7th, correct?
yes,
So it wasn't until over a week after opening statements that somebody from the state police finally interviewed you, correct?
nobody from the state police interviewed me.
Who was it that interviewed you?
Nobody interviewed me. I spoke to the DAs about coming in here. That was about it.
Okay, I thought you had just testified that on May 7th, that was the first time an investigator reached out for you.
Yes.
All right. And when I use the term interview, I don't mean that somebody put a bright spotlight on you and took you into an interrogation room. I'm just asking, did somebody ask you questions?
Yes,
I'll let it stand.
Thank you, Ron. And that interview did not take place in person, correct?
no, it did not.
That was a phone interview, correct?
Correct,
And your attorney was on the line for that, correct?
correct.
Now, from the beginning of the night on January 28th, your plan was to go home early, correct?
Correct.
You weren't drinking much, correct?
That is correct.
You had to get up early.
Yes,
And it actually was really early. It could have been as early as 3 a.m., correct?
correct.
So from the beginning, you knew that you weren't going to get much sleep, correct?
Yes,
And if you were going to get any sleep, you couldn't stay at the waterfall all night, correct?
that is correct.
So you left early.
Yes,
And you plan to go home, get whatever rest or sleep you could get, and then wait for the call to go out plowing, correct?
that is correct.
The plan from the beginning was not for you to leave the waterfall, go to Easton, and then drive back from Easton to Canton to pick up Caitlin, and then take her back to Easton so that you could wait for the call for plowing. That was not the original plan, correct?
No, it wasn't.
No, of course it wasn't. So I apologize, Ron. I withdraw that comment. But the plan changed, correct?
Yes,
And that was because you heard from your girlfriend, Caitlin, correct?
yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question and hope I get an answer. Do you recall what time it was that she contacted you?
No, I don't recall.
Did anybody instruct you not to talk about any times that anything happened?
Absolutely not.
How did Caitlin contact you that night?
Via text, via phone.
And you were in Easton when she did that, correct?
Yes,
She was at 34 Fairview?
yes,
And by the way, the snowstorm was no surprise to you that night, right?
no,
I mean, that's why you were waiting to plow, correct?
yes,
That snowstorm had been forecast.
yes.
And it had started snowing by midnight, correct?
I don't remember when it started snowing.
But for some reason, Caitlin now needed to get picked up before you went plowing, correct?
Yes,
That meant, despite the fact that you had to get up potentially at 3 a.m., you now had to make the trip back and forth between Canton and Easton a second time, correct?
yes,
And you considered it to be important enough that you agreed to pick up Caitlin despite the change in plans, correct?
correct.
All right. Now, when you pulled into that driveway, you at least temporarily parked in the driveway waiting for her, correct?
Yes,
What other cars were in the driveway at that time?
I don't remember.
What side of the driveway did you park on?
I don't remember.
After you parked, you texted Caitlin to tell her that you were there, correct?
Yes,
And you previously testified that you don't remember how long it took for her to come out of the house, correct?
I don't remember.
And I started to ask you, and I'll just finish that line of questioning, that at that point, the front lawn of the house was to your left, correct?
It would have been, yes.
Right, and there were no obstructions between you and the front lawn blocking your view, correct?
I wouldn't be staring at her grass, so no.
Okay. I didn't ask you where you were staring, I was just asking if there were any obstructions.
Okay, yeah,
And the answer to that question is?
no,
Was snow starting to accumulate at that time?
I don't remember.
You recall if there was any snow on the ground?
Yes, because I was driving cautiously.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
Absolutely not.
And as you sat in that driveway, you also did not see a black sneaker?
Absolutely not.
And you also did not see 45 pieces of red plastic
No,
or even one piece?
no,
And you certainly did not see a 6'2" man on the lawn of your girlfriend's parents' home, correct?
no, I did not.
You saw nothing unusual in that front area of the lawn, correct?
No, I did not.
Caitlin got into the Jeep.
Correct.
The plan was for you to drive the Jeep back to Easton with her, correct?
Yes,
You backed out of the driveway, correct? And you turned the rear end of that car toward Cedar Crest, correct?
not towards Cedar Crest. I was going up the hill. So it's
Okay,
your favorite.
if I suggested to you that going up the hill would take you towards Chapman, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay, and the other end of the street was Cedar Crest, right?
towards that way, yes.
Okay, so the rear end of your car was towards Cedar Crest and you were facing up the hill towards Chapman, right?
Yes,
That would have meant that you were driving your vehicle past really the entire length of Brian Albert's front lawn, correct?
yes,
And the front lawn would have been on Caitlin's side of the car, correct?
yes,
And you drove past the flagpole that you're familiar with, correct?
yes,
And as you drove past that entire front lawn, you never saw any of the things I previously asked you about, the baseball hat, the sneakers, the pieces of red plastic, or a 6'2" man, correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow leading to the Albert's front lawn, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been a car crash there, correct?
Absolutely not.
Sustained.
No further questions, thank you, Ron.
Hey, anything, Mr. Lally?
Just briefly on.
That was
That photograph that you were shown, do you know what that was, what that gathering was in regard to?
No, I don't.
I'll get to this in a second. I'll box.
Now, prior to
Kind of thinking. I got a similar thought.
you
You're an
leaving
easy
the
one if you're
waterfall,
watching,
or
though. Thank you
during
for
the
being
course
here,
of any of the
everybody.
texts or phone calls that you received from Caitlin,
Yeah, no needles
Um,
moving really.
was there any sort of reason that was discussed as far as picking her up and bringing her to Easton before you went off to plow?
Can you repeat that?
From your discussions with Caitlin, what was the reason that you went back to 34 Fairview to pick her up and bring her home?
Objection.
Well, allow it. Why'd you do that?
But she's hiding. Really want to have to deal with it.
She wanted to come home, is that correct?
Yes,
And did she say why she wanted to come home?
I want to get snowed in.
I'll allow it.
Now, you testified before that as you were driving around that night, you were cautious and your hands were attentive to, is that right?
Absolutely.
So as you're driving past your girlfriend's parents' house, was there any reason, excuse me, was there any reason for you to direct your attention to the front lawn area of their home?
Absolutely not.
Nothing further on.
Okay, you are all set.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The next witness, Mr. Lally?
Yes, you're on the call. I'm off the call. Ms. Sarah Levenson to the stand.
follow this way. Just watch your step on. Name, stand, and face the clerk. Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear to execute the court during the case down here, should the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Just need you to scoot up and pull down that microphone. You talk really loud into it. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Malley.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Sarah Levenson, Levinson.
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton,
How long have you lived in Canton?
my whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton with?
My parents.
Now, do you work there?
Yes,
What do you do for it?
I'm a registered nurse.
And how long have you been a registered nurse?
3 years.
Now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28, 2022 into the early morning of 29th. Do you recall those days?
Yes.
Do you recall what days of the week?
Friday was the 28th, Saturday the 29th.
And as far as that evening of the 28th, what, if any, plans did you have for that evening?
My plans were to go to my friend Brian's house for his birthday celebration.
And so your friend, that would be Brian Albert Jr., is that correct?
Correct.
You know how old he was turning for his birthday?
23.
And how long or how did you know Brian Albert Jr. at that time?
We met in high school. He's the grade below me. So I would say now it's been about 10 years. So about 8.
And that his house, as far as 34 Fairview Road, had you been there before?
Yes.
Plenty of times, is that?
Yes.
And on that particular evening, how was it that you came to be there? How did you get it?
My friend Julie's father drove us.
And your friend Julie, is that Julie Nagel?
Correct.
And yourself and Julie Nagel, how long have you known each other?
Middle school, so a little bit longer than how long I've known Brian for.
And you and Miss Nagel, were you in the same grade together?
Yes.
And so her father drives you from your house, picks you up at some point, and brings you over to 34 Fairview.
Correct.
Did you know about what time it was that you arrived at 34 Fairview?
Between 7 and 8 p.m.
And when you arrived, who, if anyone, was in the house at Fairview when you got there?
It was Brian Jr., Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Julie Albert.
And what was, as far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that particular evening?
We were all going to meet at Brian's house. His family was going to go out, his mom, aunt, and sister. And then we were kind of going to go from there, whether we were going to go out or stay home. It was up in the air.
And when you arrived there, so at some point did his mother, Nicole Albert, his aunt and his sister leave the house?
Correct.
About how long a period of time was it from the time that you and Julie arrived to the time that Brian's mother, aunt, and sister left?
15 to 25 minutes, I would say.
And did you have any idea where they were going?
No.
Now, as far as during that time after they left, what was it? Do you recall sort of where in the house you were hanging out, or what you were doing?
We were in the family room and in the kitchen as well.
In the kitchen area within the Albert house at 34 Fairview, were you familiar with that?
Yes.
And the kitchen and the dining room, are those sort of the same thing, is that correct?
Correct.
And the family room that you're talking about, let me ask you, sort of, with respect to 34 Fairview, there are basically two front doors. Correct?
So, Mr. Lally, I think we can move on from the general description of the house, please.
One last question in regard to that.
Thank
So
God.
the family room that you're talking about, where is that in relation to the kitchen dining room?
If you're looking at the house, it's to the right.
Now, what is it that, at some point in time, did other people join you and Julie and Brian Jr. at the house?
Between 8 and 9 o'clock.
And who was it that came over between 8 and 9?
Courtney Alba, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent.
I'm going to ask you to spell all of those last names for us, if you would, please.
So Courtney Alba, A-L-B-A. Catherine Duty, it's Kathryn-Doody. Emily Fabiano.
Just listening to her talk, I get the feeling it's like Eeyore up there. Well, then people came over. and we had a party. It was a real rager.
The last name
Nice,
F-A-B-I-A-N-O,
Bob, how are you doing? Or Allie. Not sure.
I believe it might be 1B. And then Mary Kent, K-E-N-T.
Thank you.
And with respect to Ms. Alba, Ms. Judy, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Kent, how did you know?
I knew Catherine and Emily since elementary school. Mary and Courtney I had known since high school. Courtney I was more of an acquaintance with because she was friends with Brian.
So she was more friends with your friend and you had sort of a mutual friend, is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, you guys are going to do a live tonight? Cool.
Now, during the time that you were at the house on
We're going
Fairview,
1.2 right now.
You mentioned earlier you were in sort of the family room area. Where else did you go within the house?
Just the family room, the kitchen / dining room, and then the bathroom off the kitchen.
And just so I'm clear as far as what I'm asking, when I'm
It's always
saying
Bob.
you sort of plural, so you in addition to all the other people that you just mentioned, was there any other area of the house that the group of you went at any point?
Brian took either Mary or Catherine, I don't remember which one, upstairs at one point to see their family dog.
Can I ask you to keep your voice up if you would, please? Thank
Sorry.
And about how long a period were they upstairs in the family home?
No more than 5-10 minutes.
And so what was it that the group of you were doing
So
at the
fucking
house
bored.
over the course of this?
We're gonna
So we were
go
celebrating
hard
Brian's
at-
birthday. They had gotten calzones. We were eating and then we were drinking.
Okay, there we go. Now she's talking
And
a normal
in general
speed.
terms, if you recall, what was the group sort of drinking that night?
Like spiked seltzers. I know Brian was most likely drinking White Claw because that's really all he drinks. I remember one of the other girls
No, I
bringing
can't have the
Trulies.
FH drinking White Claw.
I'm not sure about the other people, but around that type of stuff.
And do you know how much each of the people sort of had to drink while they were there?
I'm not completely sure. No one was tipping over.
Fair to say that whatever people had was sort of commensurate with each other, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, at some
50
point,
calzones.
over the course of the evening, sort of eating or drinking, was there music going or anything like that?
Yes, music
And if you recall, like sort of how was the music being played?
through a Bluetooth speaker.
And over the course of the evening, in addition to the people that you've just mentioned, at some point did somebody else come by the house?
Yes.
And who was that?
Colin, Albert.
And did you know Colin Albert prior to that evening as well?
Yes.
And about how old was Colin around that time?
High school, like late high school.
And how was it, or how well did you know Colin Albert?
Not very well. Like I said, I'd been friends with Brian for about 8 years at that point, and I know Colin's older brother, Christopher, pretty well. He's my age. I grew up with him, known him since elementary school. So it's kind of like we weren't friends, I wouldn't say, me and Colin, but we were cordial.
He's a younger brother of somebody that you went to school with.
Correct.
And he was your friend Brian Albert Jr.'s cousin, correct?
Correct.
Now, with respect to Colin, do you know about what time he arrived?
I can't say for sure. Not sure.
Sometime before or after the other Miss Kent, Miss Fabiano, Miss Alba, and Miss Judy arrived?
He was there when Miss Fabiano, Kent, and
Speak up, ma'am.
sorry, he was there when Miss Judy, Miss Fabiano, and Miss Kent were there. I'm not sure if Miss Alba was still there because she left separately from those three.
And you mentioned that you had come over to the house getting a ride from Miss Nagel's father, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how the other women got over to the house as far as Miss Kent, Miss Fabiano, Miss Alba, and Miss Judy?
They got dropped off. I'm not sure by who.
So fair to say there weren't like a line of cars out in front of the house, right?
Correct.
And about how long, with respect to that group that was there, as far as you and the other young women, about how long a period of time were you all at that?
2 to 3 hours.
So do you know about what time it was that Miss Alba, Fabiano, Miss Judy, and Miss Kent left?
Miss Alba left before the other three. Her boyfriend picked her up, and then Miss Kent Miss Duty and Miss Fabiano all left together. I know it was before midnight.
And when they left, was Colin Albert, was he still there?
I believe so.
And you know how much time or overlap there was between Colin Albert and the other women as far as Miss Candace Fabiano and Miss Duty?
I don't remember exactly.
Now, from your recollection of that evening, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor within the house over the course of those few hours?
Everything was good, happy. We were celebrating. No issues.
No issues with anybody that was there?
No.
Now, after, at some point in time, later on in the evening or in the early morning of the 29th, who, if anyone else, came through?
So Mr. Albert, Brian's father, Mr. Higgins, Mrs. Albert, Brian's mother, Caitlin Albert, Brian's sister, Jennifer McCabe, Brian's aunt, and then Matt McCabe, Brian's uncle.
Let me sort of break down and ask you a bit like that. So as far as the order of people arriving, at some point did you learn where they were coming from?
Yes.
And where were they coming from?
Brian's father and Mr. Higgins, as far as I knew, were coming from New York. They were at a funeral for a fallen police officer. And Brian's other family members, aunt, uncle, mother, and sister, they were out in Canton. I wasn't sure what establishment.
And so those people that you described, did they all come at the same time, or did they come in sort of staggered fashion, or how did they arrive?
Brian's father and Mr. Higgins arrived first, but they all arrived within 5 minutes of each other.
And first, in reference to Brian's father, Brian Sr., you had obviously met him on prior occasions, correct?
Correct.
And Brian Higgins, is that someone that you had met before, or you had known prior to that evening?
No.
And when Mr. Albert, being Sr., and Mr. Higgins arrived at the residence on Fairview, was Colin Albert still there?
I don't remember.
Do you have any recollection of those people being in the same room at the same time on that?
I don't remember.
And so, as far as Brian Jr., your friend, his mother's name is Nicole, is that right?
Correct.
His sister's name is Caitlin.
Correct.
And did you know both of them prior to the evening of the 28th?
Yes.
And with respect to Caitlin, how would you describe your sort of relationship with her?
We were friends in high school.
Fair to say that you were closer with Brian Jr. versus Caitlin, correct?
Correct.
And same question in regard to Colin Albert. Do you recall whether or not he was there in the house at the time that Nicole and Caitlin came?
I don't remember.
And then as far as Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, were you familiar with them prior to the evening of the 28th?
I knew who they were. I'm not sure if I've ever had a conversation with them prior to that.
When you say you knew who they were, how was it that you knew who they were?
I knew they were Brian's aunt and uncle.
Had you ever met them before or had any occasion to see them anywhere before that you can recall?
I know I had seen or met Jen before. I'm not sure about Matt.
And same question in reference to, as far as Colin Albert, do you recall whether or not he was in the house at any point in time when the McCabe was there?
I don't remember.
Do you recall Colin Albert leaving the house at some point?
Yes.
You just don't recall when it was in relation to when the other people arrived from wherever they were?
No.
And do you recall how it was that he left the house?
He got a ride.
You know who he got a ride from?
Objection.
No, do you know?
No.
Next question.
Now, when these other people came to the house, we'll refer to them as the older adults, is that a fair portrayal of them?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Other than the rest of the people that were there earlier, then, correct?
Correct.
So that group that came in later, as far as when they arrived, where were they in relation to the house? Like, where were they situated?
We were all in the dining/kitchen.
So all in that same sort of area.
Correct.
Now, at any point in time over the course of the evening, do you recall anybody from that group of people sort of going anywhere else in the house that you saw?
Not that I remember.
And with respect to the house on Fairview Road, you're familiar with where the basement is located in the house, is that correct?
Yes.
And at any point in time in the evening, did you see anybody from that group, either before or after, go anywhere near the basement or go into the basement area?
No.
Now, with respect to the sort of mood and demeanor after these other folks come by, do you know about what time it was that those people started coming back in from wherever they were coming?
12:15. It wasn't that long after it struck midnight.
So sometime after the strike at midnight, these other folks start to come back to the house.
Correct.
And from that period, from 12:15 or so, from that period, about how long was it after that that you were at the house? On Thursday?
Guys, I don't know who's breathing. I know it's not.
I left between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
So about an hour and a half or so after they got there.
Correct.
Now, with
I
respect
think
to
it's
that
her.
hour and a half or so after they got there, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor within the home during that time?
Same thing. We were celebrating, happy, dancing, all that.
The drinking continued, correct?
Correct.
No issues or arguments or anything that you, correct?
Correct.
Now,
You can hear her breathe in, I think, when she's like,
within the area of the kitchen dining area, at some point, do you recall where people were? I'm talking later in the evening when the folks come back to the house after midnight. Do you remember where those people were sort of situated around the kitchen dining room area at that time?
Yes.
And could you describe to the jury sort of where they were?
So the dining room table is a square. So, and it was in front of the front window. So in front of the front window where their back would be to the window was my friend Julie Nagel. I was sitting then, I don't know, was that perpendicular? I haven't taken math in a long time. I was sitting here. If the window's here, I was sitting on this side, facing kind of, I could see the front door. And then to my right, Brian Sr. and Mr. Higgins were standing. So they're back towards the kitchen. And Mrs. Albert Nicole was sitting with her back to the front door area. And Jen and Matt and Caitlin, I don't believe were sitting.
Over that course of hour and a half or so after those folks came back to the house sometime after midnight, did you observe any other people walking or coming into the house at any point?
No.
Let me ask you this. As far as on January 28th into the 29th of 2022, did you know anybody by the name of John O'Keefe?
No.
And did you know anybody by the name of Karen Reed?
No.
And with respect to either of those people or any other people, no one else came into the house while you were there?
Correct.
Now, at some point in time, your friend Julie, did she go outside the house?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that was in regard to?
Her older brother, Ryan, was coming to pick us up to take us home. So she went out to talk to him. Prior to him arriving, she said something to me along the lines of Ryan's coming to get us, which Jen McCabe said.
Sustain.
Question. And so, in relation to when folks arrived back from wherever they were coming from to 34 Fairview, when was this that you had this conversation with Julie about her brother coming to you guys out?
Around 12:30, give or take.
And at some point, did Julie go outside the house?
Yes.
And did you have any occasion to look outside at any point when she was out there?
No.
And about how long period of time was Julie outside the house?
No longer than 5 minutes.
And after that, her going outside no longer than 5 minutes and coming back inside, were there other arrangements that were made as far as how you and Julie were going to get home that night?
Yes.
And what were those arrangements as far as what was your understanding of how you were getting home that night?
Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe would drive us home.
Now, Jen McCabe around
riveting
that
testimony.
time
Oh
she
my
went outside
God.
the house and came back in. What, if anything, did you observe her doing?
Her phone was plugged in behind me, charging. She was checking it periodically.
And again, if you could remind the jury, so what was it that was behind you as far as where was you going?
So where I was sitting behind me was a wall. And then behind that wall would be the family room.
And so I guess what I'm asking is, was there something specific that her phone was like resting on, or was it just sort of hanging out of the plug, or how was it positioned?
I think it was just resting on the floor.
And with reference to her phone, was that something that Ms. McCabe came over
Sweet
and
tooth,
looked at?
you're gonna get
at any
your
point in
stuff
time
by
while it was
Monday. It's
starting?
in the mail.
Yes.
How many times?
I'm not sure, to be exact.
Let me ask you this: was it once, or more than once, or something?
More than once, I would say.
And without any reference to anything that was said, was there some conversation that you had with Ms. McCabe during the time that she would come over and check or look at the phone?
Myself, no. In general, I remember her saying someone was coming.
And that someone that she indicated was coming, again, no one ever actually came in the house or was around the house that you were aware of, correct?
Correct.
And so about what time was it that you left the home on Fairview on that particular evening?
Between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
And you left with your friend, Ms. Nagel, as well as Mr. and Mrs. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what kind of vehicle they had or what they were driving on that evening?
Some sort of like large Subaru type. I don't know the exact make or brand, but a large. All I could say was like a Subaru, not a Subaru, not a Suburban. I don't know cars. Like a Tahoe, like a big car.
So like a bigger SUV, correct?
Yes.
And within the SUV that you eventually got into and took a ride home, correct?
Yes.
And if you recall, from within the SUV that you got into, was there, as far as the back seat was concerned, was it 2 rows, 3 rows, or something?
It was 3 rows.
What time
And
did she
where
leave?
was that vehicle parked when you came out to get in?
In the driveway.
And when you came out to go from the house to the car, what, if anything, did you observe as far as what was the weather doing at that point?
It was snowing.
And as far as the snow that had come, was there any sort of accumulation on the ground that you saw?
Yes.
And so based on that, what, if anything, do you recall about sort of your walk from the front door to the McCabe's vehicle in the driveway?
So we exited the front door and went down the front walkway to the driveway.
Mhm.
As I said, it was snowing.
How much is on the ground?
Julie and I were like arms linked, and I was looking down at my feet to make sure I didn't slip.
And why were you looking down?
I wore shoes that my mother told me not to wear because they didn't have traction, but they went with my outfit, so I wore them anyways. And I knew if I had slipped and fell, she would say, "I told you so." So
Also heavily
I made sure not to do that.
And when you get to the vehicle,
Did they
do you
see
recall sort of
John
who
O'Keefe's
was
body?
driving and who sort of sat where within the vehicle?
Yes. So Matt was driving. Jennifer was in the passenger seat. Julie was behind Matt on the driver's side, and then I was behind Jen.
And when you get into the back of the vehicle, do you recall, was there any sort of conversation about, did either Mr. or Mrs. McCabe know where the two of you lived at that point? No.
They did not.
So I imagine there was some discussion as far as where to or what was the address or something like that.
Yes, correct.
Do you recall if that was something that was like plugged into GPS, or were you just sort of giving verbal instructions about where?
I don't remember.
And do you recall as far as the order of who got dropped off first versus yourself and Ms. Nagel,
Yes,
and who got dropped off?
Julie.
And about how far a drive is it from the address on Fairview to Julie's?
Less than 5 minutes.
And same as far as, so from Julie's house, you then went to your house, is that correct?
Yeah, about 5 minutes, I would say, from Julie's to mine.
So 5 minutes or so from Fairview to Julie's and 5 minutes or so from Julie's.
Correct.
Now, when you get in the back of the vehicle, do you recall any other sort of discussion while you were in the driveway before you left?
So, yes, we got in to the car. Matt forgot his jacket inside, so he went back to get his jacket. And Julie and I were in the back seat looking around. One of us noticed, I remember, a loaf of bread, just a lone loaf of bread in the back seat. And we said something to Jen because we thought it was weird. And she said something along the lines of, "Oh, anyone want a peanut butter and jelly on the way?" Like making a joke. So we were looking back at the third row.
And so Ms. McCabe is in the front seat of the vehicle at this point.
Yes,
Well, bitches
So
are
she
drunk
sort
eating
of
bread.
turns to talk to you while you're in the back seat.
correct.
Drunk
And was
bitches eating
turned
bread.
towards
What's the new
the center of the
chat?
car, the window or something.
To the center.
What they do?
And if you recall, Mr. McCabe gets his jacket, comes back in the car, and at some point backs out of the driveway.
Correct.
And when Mr. McCabe drives from there headed towards Ms. Nagel's house, do you recall which direction that the vehicle was facing as far as going by the house on Fairview?
So,
Let me ask you probably in a better way.
okay.
So at some point, did you drive past the 34 Fairview Road residence on the way to Julie's house?
Yes.
And when you did so, which side of the McCabe's vehicle was facing the Fairview Road residence? Was it the side that you're on or the side that Julie's on?
The side I was on.
And at the time that you were driving past that, was there a conversation still that was going on in with the backseat of the car or with anybody else?
Yes,
And who was sort of engaged in conversation with that?
myself and Julie.
And so you're looking at her direction while you're talking to her, is that correct?
Correct.
And as you're driving past the house, what, if anything, does Julie say?
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr. Riley.
Back down here, presence of depression.
As you're driving past the house, what, if any, conversation were you having with them?
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to see Councilor Cyber on this one issue. Jurors, feel free to stand up.
You notice I'm kind of wondering, are we going to get to? He says he lays pipe. Yeah. You could cover the Bob app. Oh, the Bob Lee Cash App murder. The Cash App guy got murdered. Oh, is it going to be covered? Yeah, no, I can definitely do that. I'll definitely take a look at that. Sweet Tooth. Also, by the way, your package is in the mail. So just so you're aware. So like what time is this they're claiming? Because they haven't nailed that down yet. It sounds like maybe like 1:30, almost 2 o'clock. She leaves. So John O'Keefe's body would have been visible in the snow. I mean, there would have been some accumulation, but he would have been disappeared. And he's out in the middle of the snow wearing black. And she didn't see him. I mean, I know we haven't gotten to that point yet. But that's where I'm a little confused at here. Did she not see a goddamn body in the snow? I know she's going to say she didn't, but that's a big problem to me. If she's facing the house while she's in the car. Unless you're going to say she's like blackout
Ms.
drunk.
Levenson, without respect to what Ms. Nagel said to you in the car, the two of you were conversing, correct?
Correct.
And as you're pulling past the house, she says something, correct? Or says something out loud?
Not farther up the street.
And so when you're talking about farther up the street, where was the vehicle in relation to the house at 34 Fairview when she says something?
The house was behind us.
And so based on what she had said, where does your attention go?
When she was speaking to me, I looked at her. Once she said what she said, I looked the other way to the window.
And at the time that you looked to the window, what was sort of outside the window in reference to 34 Fairview? Was any part of the residence still, or the lawn or anything else visible to you at that time?
No.
And so was a neighboring house, is that fair to say?
One of the neighboring houses, yes.
So whether it was a next door neighbor or a couple houses down, it was past that point, correct?
Correct.
And was there any further discussion that you recall in the backseat of the vehicle between yourself and Julie in relation to that earlier statement?
I asked for clarification.
Did you receive any further clarification?
No.
Let me have a moment, John.
Yes.
Very convenient. Oh, you weren't looking.
Nothing further for this witness, John.
All right, so this is a good place for us to take.
That's a
online
little
recess,
convenient,
see if
Chad.
that's what we need.
All right, to the court, please.
I don't know if that's what
You are muted.
Bob was focusing in on, but I didn't notice that. She apparently is paying attention here. Fuck, get every branch of the tree. Oh, guys, be nice. All right, chat. We're doing a little bit of time traveling. Whoop, 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 whoop. So how much time did we take? Oh, we took literally about a half-hour break.
I've lived in Canton your whole life?
Christine Eddy?
All right, here we go. This will be good, chat. This actually should be
Good
good.
morning.
You have lived in Canton your whole life?
Correct.
Graduated from Canton High School?
Yes.
Have been friends with Brian Albert Jr. since high school?
Yes.
I believe you said it's been probably about 10 years now that you've been friends?
Correct.
And the two of you actually went to the junior prom together, correct?
Correct.
You consider him a close friend.
Correct.
You've been to his house many times.
Yes.
You've gone inside the home and you've spent time in the backyard as well.
Yes.
Gone swimming in the pool that they have in the backyard.
Yes.
And in high school, you would hang out in their basement, would you not?
That's correct.
And you know that there's, in that basement, a bulkhead door that leads to the backyard, correct?
I
Gee.
never noticed it.
You're also on good terms with other members of the Albert family.
Correct.
You know his brothers and sisters, correct?
Correct.
Caitlin Albert, Brendan Albert, Kayla Albert, and Jack Albert.
Yes.
You also know his cousins?
Depends which ones, but yes.
Some of them.
Yes.
You know that Jennifer McCabe's daughters are Brian Albert Jr.'s cousins, correct?
Correct.
And you know both of Brian Jr.'s parents, Brian Albert Sr. and Nicole Albert, correct?
That's correct.
And you actually call Nicole Albert by her nickname, correct?
Sometimes yes.
And what is that nickname?
Coco?
And you know Brian Albert Sr. relatively well, having been over the house so many times, correct?
Depends what you qualify as well, but yes.
Do you find him a little standoffish?
He's quiet.
But in any case, you're comfortable at the Albert home.
That's correct.
And you were at the Albert home on the night of January 28th, going into the 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Got there around 8 p.m.
Correct.
And you didn't leave until around 2 a.m., give or take, on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
So again, ballpark figures, if you were there from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m., that means that you spent about 6 hours at the Albert home that night into the early morning?
Correct.
And you yourself never left the home during those 6 hours, correct?
Correct.
You were inside the home the entire time.
Correct.
Were you interviewed by any police officer, state trooper, or other investigator about the events of that night on January 29th of 2022?
On that day?
Yeah, were you interviewed?
No.
What about the rest of January or even February of 2022? Were you interviewed by any investigator?
No.
The fact of the matter is that no investigator connected with this case took a statement from you in terms of an interview until about 9 months later, correct?
Correct.
And that was done at the district attorney's office on October 21st of 2022?
Correct.
Now, that night while you were at the house, you'll agree with me that there were people coming and going from the house the whole night, correct?
I mean, you would have to be more specific.
Okay, so I'm not talking about like every minute on the minute,
Mhm.
but during those 6 hours, you saw people come and you saw people leave, correct?
Yes.
But you were not standing guard at the door to take note of everyone who was entering or leaving or the times that they were entering or leaving, correct?
Correct.
You were not, keeping a log, for instance, of when somebody came in or when somebody left.
No.
And when you got there around 8 a.m., you came with your good friend Julie Nagel, correct?
Yes.
Julie's father dropped you off there.
Yes.
You saw Nicole Albert, Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Brian Albert Jr. when you arrived, right?
Correct.
Then Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Nicole Albert left, right?
Yes.
But then 4 other friends of Brian Jr. arrived, right?
Yes.
And you would name them when Mr. Lally was asking you questions before the break, right?
Yes. Correct.
So with those 4 friends, with you and Julie and Brian Jr., that meant that at that point, there were 7 people in the house, right?
Yes.
Actually, there were 8 people because Colin Albert was there as well, correct?
It depends on what time you're referring to, but yes.
He got dropped off there at some point.
Yes.
And then he was one of the 8 people, including yourself, that you were with.
Correct.
You never saw him walk in the door, did you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember seeing him actually enter the house, correct?
Correct.
But during the night, you actually sat right next to Colin Albert at the table, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And with regard to Colin Albert, I believe you testified, you really wouldn't say he's a friend of yours, right?
That's correct.
He was more of an acquaintance, was he not?
That's correct.
Somebody that you met, but you didn't hang around with, right?
Yes.
You have never been in a hot tub with Colin Albert, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
You never took a trip to Maine with Colin Albert, right?
Objection.
No.
Sustained.
Because going away on a road trip, that'd be something that you do with a friend, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. And with regard to those 4 friends of Brian Jr. who arrived, your best estimate is that they came sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. I'm talking about Courtney Albert, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent. Strike that. You know what? Let me withdraw that question and rephrase it. They left sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m.
Correct.
And you can't be sure precisely when they left because, again, you weren't watching the clock to make note of when people made their exits, correct?
I know they left before it was Brian Jr.'s birthday on the 29th, so I know it was before midnight, but other than that, no.
Right, and that's like an hour span of time that they could have left within, correct?
Correct.
You never saw Colin Albert physically walk out the door, did you?
I don't remember.
And then at some point before midnight, Brian Albert Sr., Brian Higgins, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, and Caitlin Albert all arrived at the Albert home, correct?
Yes, I don't know if you said Matt McCabe, but
And
yes.
Matt McCabe as well.
Yes.
And you would agree with me that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert arrived at about the same time?
Yes.
And that Caitlin Albert, Jennifer and Matt McCabe, and Nicole Albert all came back around the same time?
Correct.
Now, from that point until the time that you left around, and that was around 2 a.m., right? Give or take?
Correct.
From that point until around 2 a.m., the only person who left the house was your friend Julie Nagel, right?
Correct.
Your understanding was that she went outside to talk to her brother, Ryan Nagel, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And in addition to not remembering seeing Colin Albert leave, you also did not see Brian Higgins physically leave, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also don't remember seeing Caitlin Albert leave, correct?
No, I don't remember.
You would agree with me that throughout the night while you were at the house, Caitlin Albert was playing music on her phone?
Yes.
There were surround sound speakers set up in the kitchen dining room area?
I don't remember that.
There were speakers though, correct?
Possibly.
So
I don't remember.
Your memory is not that Caitlin Albert had a song or songs playing on her small iPhone, was it?
No, it was on a speaker. I'm just not sure if it was surround sound or a Bluetooth speaker like it was previously in the night.
All right, fair enough. People were singing and dancing, right?
Correct.
Pretty much everybody was singing, correct?
Correct.
People were talking.
Correct.
Everybody appeared to be in a good mood and having a good time.
Yes.
And with the music, the singing, the dancing, the talking, the drinking, there was a lot of activity going on in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
There was plenty of, to pay attention to with regard to the people that were in that area, right?
Yes.
Brian Jr. was in the kitchen essentially the whole night.
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was charging her phone on the kitchen island at one point.
Behind it, but yes.
Did she pick up her phone in your presence to make any calls or text anybody?
She picked up her phone. I'm not sure what she did with it.
But in any case, you'd agree with me it was noisy in the kitchen.
Yes.
And the kitchen's in the back of the house.
Yes.
Now, you had seen the Albert family dog, the German Shepherd, Chloe, prior to that day, correct?
Yes.
And Chloe was not a very outgoing dog around people, correct?
Correct.
In fact, your impression was that she was a former police dog, correct?
Possibly.
Right or wrong?
Maybe. I don't know.
While you were in the kitchen, with all of the singing and dancing and talking and music going on, you did not hear Chloe bark, correct?
Correct.
You did not hear Chloe growl, correct?
Correct. Not that I remember.
You did not hear somebody get hit in the back of the head with anything, correct?
Objection.
Go ahead, you can answer that.
Correct.
And while you were there sitting, you could not hear what, if anything, was going on in the basement, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. You were catching a ride home with the McCabe's ultimately, correct?
Correct.
At that time, you believed that you, Julie Nagel, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe were the last to leave 34 Fairview?
Correct.
So at that time, you believed that Brian Higgins and Caitlin Albert had left before you, correct?
I believe so.
But you didn't see Brian Higgins or Caitlin Albert physically walk out the door. At least you have no memory of that, correct?
Correct.
And when you left, you didn't check every room in the house to see who was still there, correct?
Correct.
You never went down to the basement that night.
That's correct.
And when you left 34 Fairview, the snow was starting to stick to the ground at around 2 a.m.,
That's correct.
but there weren't mounds of snow or snowbanks that had formed, correct?
Correct.
And when you left the home, you could still see part of the red brick of the walkway that leads to the driveway, correct?
Correct.
And when you got to the driveway, you could still see part of the color of the pavement, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you could still see some.
She would have
grass on
seen
the
a
front.
body laying in the snow.
I don't remember, but
Let me have a moment.
Yes.
You testified at a hearing on May 11th of 2023, so just about a year ago, in Boston, correct?
correct.
And neither the prosecution in this case, Mr. Lally and Ms. McLaughlin, or any of the defense team was there, correct?
Correct.
Some other lawyer was asking you questions, right?
Objection.
Sustained, move along with this.
Sure. You were asked the question, quote, could you see the grass sort of on the lawn? That was when you were leaving. And your answer was yes. Do you recall that question and answer?
I don't recall that.
If I suggested to you that that was the question and answer, would you dispute it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is your memory exhausted as to whether there was that question of you and that answer given?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Do you not remember whether you were asked that question that I just read and the answer that you just gave?
I don't remember.
Okay. If you saw that transcript, would that refresh your memory?
Possibly.
Page 187, Counsel. May I approach?
Was there an objection? No? Yes, you did.
Thank you. Actually, I'm sorry. I just handed it to you and then took it away. I'm sorry about that. Lines 10 and 11, I would direct your attention. And just read it silently to yourself, please, and look up at me when you're done. I may approach to grab that. Having reviewed that transcript, does that refresh your memory as to what you testified to a year ago?
Yes.
And was that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
With the word being sort of.
Yeah, well, I believe I read the
Yes.
question.
I'm just clarifying. Yeah.
But I did read it accurately. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Where was the McCabe's car parked?
In the driveway.
What other cars did you see in the driveway at that time?
I believe the by Albert family, I mean the ones that owned that house.
The parents.
Yes, correct. Their cars.
Do you know how many?
2.
And
Possibly.
where were those 2 cars parked? Strike that. Were there 2 lanes in the driveway where cars were parked?
Yes,
And which lane, to the left or the right, were the Albert cars? Or maybe they were in both.
I believe both.
Both.
Closest to the garage.
Okay, so they were pulled up closest to the entrance of the garage.
Correct.
In tandem, right next to each other.
Correct.
All right. And where was the McCabe's car behind? Which car?
If you're looking at the house, the lane to the left, I believe.
Okay. Now, when you first walked out of the Albert home, you'd agree with me that the front lawn was right in front of you, correct?
Yes.
There were no obstructions blocking your view of that front lawn.
No.
And there were lights on next to the Albert home front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there was also a lamppost where the front walkway is, correct?
Correct.
And between the 2 garage doors, there's also a spotlight, is there not?
Correct.
And you would testify that snow had started to accumulate, right?
Correct.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
No.
Did you see a black sneaker?
No.
Did you see a 6'2", 220-pound man sprawled out right in front of you on that lawn?
No.
Did you see 45 pieces of red plastic?
No.
1 piece of red plastic?
No.
So you saw nothing unusual on that front lawn as you walked out of that house, correct?
That's correct.
As Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Julie Nagel were walking toward the McCabe car, none of them pointed to the front lawn to direct your attention to anything, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, you would testify that Matt McCabe forgot something and had to go back in the house, correct?
Correct.
Which means he actually came out of the house twice that night, correct?
Correct.
And the second time he came out, he still would have been facing that front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And the second time that Matt McCabe came out, he didn't point at anything in the front lawn, correct?
That's correct.
And then the 4 of you were in the McCabe car, right?
Yes.
Matt McCabe was driving.
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat next to him.
Yes.
Julie Nagel was seated behind the driver, behind Matt McCabe, right?
Yes.
And you were seated in the second row passenger seat to the right,
Yes.
behind where Jennifer McCabe was sitting.
Yes.
And the car backed out of the driveway, correct?
Yep.
And the rear of the car was then facing towards Cedar Crest.
Correct.
And the front of the car, where you were going to drive toward, would be toward Chapman Street, correct?
That's correct.
Which would have put you driving right past the Albert property line, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you were closer to that property line than Julie Nagel was, correct?
That's correct.
As you drove past?
Yes.
And as you drove past that front lawn, you saw nothing out of the ordinary, right?
I wasn't looking, but yes.
Okay. And we had previously talked about the fact that you were first interviewed by investigators on October 21st of 2022, right?
Correct.
And the investigator that spoke to you about 9 months after January 29th of 2022, you will agree with me, was Michael Proctor, correct?
That's correct.
And almost a year after that, you were visited by 2 female members of the defense team, were you not?
Objection.
My home was.
Okay. Do you recognize Ms. Little seated at council table as being one of those two females?
Okay, I'm going to see it, sidebar.
Okay, chat. Wow. So she acknowledges the snow wasn't on the ground. It's kind of where I thought we were going to get to. That was actually impressive. Good job, Unetti. I don't think they would be good. A couple of comments here. Princess says, why do they all pretend like they didn't hang out with her? It's because these people are trying to be smarter than what they are. It's a problem. And also, we got some other super chats here to read. I need to catch up on. Bad Weather Biker for $10 says, I haven't seen a single member of this family so far that seems even remotely trustworthy or intelligent. Yes, I agree. Squid for $5 says, Lamau, the question, who the fuck asked? That was funny to me. Yes. And then, Barkoverur. A lot of umlauts. That's like some Finnish stuff right there. Caitlin spells her name like Bruce Jenner. And Barco's already saying directed verdict for the defense at the end of the Commonwealth's case. You know what, though? Like I said, guys, I said this before. The judge is going to say, well, there's questions about credibility of the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses. That's for the jury to weigh and decide. So, won't be granted. Alpha's saying, I didn't see the solar eclipse, ergo it didn't happen. Solid logic. Yes, but to argue you didn't see a body laying out in the yard like 40 feet away, like, well, there's a lot of snow on the ground. Well, if it was, then it's going to be very bright outside. Like, you got to go with what you got with, and these people claim they didn't see stuff. Yeah. And Jason, you're saying, do these witnesses ever get to a cumulative point? Yeah, well, like when they're talking about the interior of the house, judge said, move the fuck on. So that happened. And then Pseudo Snark, for $20. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, man. Says, thanks for always entertaining. Did a record request to fuck with the department I used to work for. It's even funner if you know exactly what records you want. You could say, like, I know they exist. I did them. Nonstop gonna do what I can to hold government accountable. Rock on, brother. And I sent you an email. I emailed you back. Automata for $2 says, I was busy staring at bread to see a body. There you go. That's kind of what I was thinking too. Yes. Cocaine. I guarantee you they've used that name a bunch. Although if she was cocaine, she don't lie. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. What are we talking about? I must have missed. There's some sort of argument. What are we arguing about here? I just didn't see it. I must have kept missing it. Oh. Does anyone know if they dismissed the charges? I think they were dismissed with prejudice, Sweet Tooth. I gotta find out. Guys, whoa. What the hell did I miss? I'm trying to catch up here. I can't remember. This is pathetic. Yeah, she's she is trying really hard. And that's the thing. When you try really hard to play stupid, the jury notices. So she needs to be careful because this is not helping the state right now. I demand we receive stimulus in the form of you getting uncomfortably close to the camera. It's like on a monitor and it's all the way like I can't even reach. I can almost reach it. So no, I can't get that close. There's a whole desk in the way. And I'm not messing with it because I have like the good view. Is that Johnny Sins in the jury? No, that is John O'Keefe's family. The jury is down here at the bottom of the screen, heretic. A motion for dismissal and a motion for acquittal. I mean, it depends, like, where you're at. Like, in Ohio, it's called a Rule 29. It's a motion, for a motion to dismiss, basically. But it's a directed verdict, and it's a judgment for acquittal. It's all the same thing at the end of, tomato, tomato. They're not playing, they're just stupid. Well, there's that, too. Kibo says, fault, it's not my time. Guys, let's try to be nice here. I have T-Rex arms. Well, yeah, I'm a little guy, and if I wasn't fat, it wouldn't be an issue anyway. So, all right, we're gonna keep going here, chat. But I wanted to catch up on all that. All right. Oop, wrong window. All right, chat. Here we go.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Levenson, that you decided not to speak to anybody from the defense team?
That is correct.
And you hadn't before you and I just started this discussion, correct?
That is correct.
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lally.
That's an interesting one. We haven't heard that question before. I don't think we've heard that question before on the other witnesses, specifically that one.
Ms. Levenson, with regard to the basement.
Your mom already knows. That's all that
34
matters.
Fairview, when was the last time that you were in the basement area of the home?
Ooh.
Early college. So
2017, that where the Albert family
maybe?
That period of time that you were talking about where Ms. McCabe had her phone on the charger and was coming over to check on it, do you recall whether or not Colin Albert was still in the house at that point?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe he was, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, you come out of the house, you were asking questions about the lawn.
Hi, Iris.
The portion of the front
Welcome.
lawn that you are talking about, as far as you
Rebecca,
observed, where is that in relation
hello.
to the driveway?
To the, well, if you're,
Let me ask you a different way. So as far as, with respect to the front lawn area of the home, what part of the lawn did you make any observations of, or did you look at or see it when you were walking from the doorway to the vehicle?
when I walked out of the front door, I went down the steps of the stoop and I looked in front of me, like down, not straight. So it would be the grass that borders the front walkway.
So you weren't looking at sort of the entirety of the front lawn, is that correct?
That is correct.
And when you spoke with Trooper Proctor, was he the only trooper there, or the only state police officer there when you spoke with him?
No.
Do you recall who the other trooper was?
I don't remember the name specifically. It was not like a common last name, though. I know that.
Bukaki.
And as far
Yes,
as
Trooper Bukaki.
defense investigators or anybody else coming to your house, you chose not to speak with them, is that correct?
Correct. I was not home when what Mr. Ionetti was talking about. My parents were home, but out of respect, I contacted the defense to tell them the next day, I believe, that I had nothing to have a conversation with them about.
Why not?
I know that legally I didn't have to, and I didn't have anything to say.
That's correct. She legally does not have to talk to the defense
You
team.
are all set, Ms. Levenson.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Hella.
Your next witness.
Take
Mr.
care,
Lally.
Hella. And I hope-
Yes, Your Honor. Let's call Ms. Julie Nagel to the stand.
So yeah, she's got no duty to speak to the prosecutor. I mean, to the defense team. And that's the thing, guys. When I speak to witnesses in a trial, like as part of trial prep, if I'm speaking to a witness, I have to talk to them and say, hey, look. And I start off every phone call with, my name is Sean Martin. I'm the attorney for Karen Reed. I'd like to ask you some questions, but before we get any further, I need you to understand you have no obligation to talk to me. If you feel concerned, you can call the prosecutor and then we can talk then. I have to also tell him, like, you have the right to get your own attorney. And I do that just to cover my ass. And I also, you could stop talking to me at any time. Because I don't want an allegation these people claiming I screwed with them. So, yes, they don't have to talk to me. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they tell me to kick rocks and you just deal with what you deal with. But that is a very real issue. Then you turn on the charm. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. Yes, it's always important to keep your ass covered.
Why don't you step for me? Thank you. Name, stand, and face the court. Raise your right hand. This you solemnly swear the demonstration of the court and jury in the case down here to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Oh, Chad, I'm sorry. We had closed
good morning.
captioning here. My
How you doing?
apologies.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Yep, it's Juliana Nagel, Nagel,
All right, we're going to...
And,
Oh,
where do you live in?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
My whole life.
oh God, we got to
And
slow
who,
her
if
down.
anyone, do you live in Canton?
I live with my parents and my brothers, but mostly now just my parents.
And how many brothers do you have?
I have 2 older brothers.
Okay, guys, have you guys say Boondock Saints? Does she not seem like the woman who has the untouched by man thing on her neck that they get into a fight with? Doesn't she give off that vibe? Like, she's like, I'm from Boston. I got a bigger cock than you.
And what are the names and how much older than you are they?
My oldest brother Ryan is 31, and then my other brother Sam is 27.
And do you work, Matt?
I do. I work for a car rental agency.
How long have you been doing
A little over a year and a half.
that? I mean, if I could
Yeah, shouldn't it be
your
rule
attention
of
to
thumb? Shouldn't it
January
be rule of the
28th,
wrist?
2022 into the early morning of the 29th. Do you recall where you were that evening?
I do.
And where did you go?
To my friend Brian Albert's house.
And your friend, that's Brian Albert Jr., is that correct?
Yes, Junior. Yep.
And how is it that you know Brian Albert Jr.?
We went to school together, high school, so I've known him for quite some time.
What do you mean, a mic
And
breather?
was Brian Albert Jr., was he in the same grade or the same class as you?
He was a year below me.
And you recall about what time it was that you went over to his house the evening of the 20th?
I'm not sure exactly, but I would say probably around like 6.
And do you recall what day of the week that was, the 28th and the 29th?
I believe a Friday.
So Friday and Saturday, is that correct?
Mhm.
And how did you get?
Yes.
How did you get to?
I know. That's why I was making the joke. I could do it too.
My dad drove me.
I'll do it like her.
And who, if anyone else, did?
But if you guys want to talk like this, we could.
My friend Sarah Levenson.
How long have you known Sarah Levenson?
Since middle school, I would say.
And you're familiar with Mr. Albert Jr.'s house?
In all honesty, she sounds really, 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 really nervous. She is like going a mile a minute. She does not want to be there.
34 Fairview Road.
Correct. Yes.
And had you been there on occasion over the course of your friendship?
Yes.
Yes, he's always been there.
Now, what was, as far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that evening?
Just hang out, have some drinks for my friend Brian's birthday. Just together and hang out.
And when you arrived there, who, if anyone, in addition to yourself, Ms. Levenson and Brian Albert Jr. were present at the home with that?
From what I can recall, I just remember Brian Jr. Yep.
And at some point, did some other people come and join the group of the 3 of you at the home?
Yes.
And when about was that in relation to when you and Sarah left?
I can't remember. I don't recall the time frame.
Sometime after though?
Yes. Yep.
Was it that came to join the group at some point?
It was me, Brian Jr., Sarah Levenson, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, Mary Kent, Courtney Alba,
Colin Albert, and then that's what I can remember from then in the early part of the night.
And so with respect to Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Kent, Ms. Alba, and was Ms. Judy as well, is that correct?
Correct.
How did you know them?
Through Brian Jr.
Were they in the same grade or class as you and Ms. Levenson?
In Brian's class.
Class below you?
Correct. Yep.
And so fair to say that you were closer friends with Brian Albert Jr. and Ms. Levenson than the other 4 girls came in?
Correct. Yes.
You mentioned, as far as those 4 individuals, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Kent, Ms. Judy, and Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Judy, and Ms. Alba. Did they come together as far as you know?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
And do you have any idea how they got there?
No, I do not.
Now, with reference to, you mentioned Colin, correct?
Mhm.
And how do you know?
So on the mhm, they have to be yes or no.
Okay, got it.
So what was
oh my
that answer?
God, she's like,
Do you mind repeating the question?
I mean,
Thank you.
wow.
So with reference to Colin Albert, did you know Colin Albert prior to that evening as well?
Yes,
And how did you know Colin Albert?
through Brian Jr.
And what, if anything, did you know about the relationship between Colin Albert and Brian Albert?
They're cousins.
And about how old was Colin Albert around this time frame of
We'll get to
January
this.
28, 2020?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
You know whether or not he was in high school or college or something else?
High school.
And when was it that he arrived in relation to the 4 young ladies that you were talking about?
I don't remember. A little bit after though.
Okay, so it's some point in time after they had arrived.
Yes,
And they had arrived after you, is that correct?
correct. Yep.
And over the course of the evening within the Albert house, where is it sort of within the home that you and sort of the group were congregating?
We were mostly in the dining room area with the kitchen. It's like an open floor plan a little bit.
And do you recall what specifically, or just generally speaking, what you were doing while you were hanging out and celebrating Brian Jr.'s birthday?
We got some food ordered from Deanie. Just hanging out, drinking. That was it.
Do you recall any music playing or anything like that?
Yes.
And how was that sort of set up, or what was it?
Yeah, I can mostly remember it being set up from the overhead speakers in the kitchen, like in the ceiling.
And was that being played through somebody else's like phone or device or something like that?
Yes.
And do you recall who was sort of in control or who was controlling the music?
I believe it was Caitlin Albert.
And so prior to, at this point in time that you're talking about,
Mhm.
sort of the initial was Caitlin there at that point?
Yes, she was.
I'm sorry, during the point in time when it was yourself and Ms. Levenson, the other 4 young women that you were talking about, and Colin Albert, was Caitlin Albert there at that point, if you recall?
Not at that point, no.
So that's what my question was
Okay.
in relation to that time, who, if anyone, was
I-
in charge of it.
Okay. No, not at that time. I don't remember.
Now, with respect to, now, obviously you were there and you were drinking, people were drinking, correct?
Yep.
Do you recall sort of what people were drinking?
I know at the time I was drinking Michelob Ultras, but mostly just White Claws, beers, from what I can remember.
That's right.
And was
Yeah, get the
anyone
White
within this sort of
Claws.
initial group that we're talking about here drinking any more or less than anybody else?
I don't believe so, no.
And during this sort of initial period with these initial people, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor within?
Yeah, everyone was having a good time. It was Brian's birthday, so, we were there just to have fun.
And at any point in time with this sort of initial group, did you see anybody go to any other area of the house beyond sort of the kitchen and dining room area?
No.
Now, at some point, did members of this sort of initial group, did they leave the house at some point over the course of the evening?
Yes.
And who left first and as,
Um,
you know who left first and about what time?
yeah, I'm not sure exactly who left at what point, but I know that Catherine, Duty, Emily Fabiano, Mary, Ken, and Courtney Alba left. I would say, and Colin left like before midnight.
And did they all leave around the same time or did they leave at sort of staggered order?
I would say staggered times.
Now, with reference to Colin Albert, do you know about what time he left?
I would probably say 11:30, 11:45.
And do you have any idea sort of how Colin, similar to what I asked about the other
Mhm.
young ladies, do you have any recollection as far as how he got there or how he left or anything like that?
I'm not quite sure. No.
But do you recall specifically seeing him leave from the house?
Yes.
And which door would he have left from?
I'm not sure exactly what door, but I know someone did pick him up, but I'm not sure who did. So
And so when it comes to the front door of Fairview Road, there's 2 doors in the front area of the house.
Yes.
And as far as with respect to either of those two doors, you don't remember him leaving from some other door of the house, correct?
Correct.
So if he left, or when he left, it would have been from one of those two front doors?
Yes.
Now, at some point, at least after Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Duty, and Ms. Alba left, did people that lived at the house or other people sort of come back through the house?
Yes.
And about what time was that?
I'm not too sure, but I would say a little after midnight.
And who were the first people sort of to arrive in this, we'll call them sort of the second?
I don't remember who came, like who was first, who was second, like that, but I know who came, but I don't know what order.
And who were the people that came?
Yeah, so it was Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Jr.'s parents, Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Higgins, and that's it. And Caitlin Albert, sorry.
Okay. And so when they came back, as far as the other four young women that you were talking about, they had already left, is that correct?
Yes.
And Colin Albert, was he still there when those people came back?
He left as well.
And so Brian Albert Sr. and Nicole Albert, those Brian Albert Jr.'s parents?
Correct, yes.
You were familiar with them, obviously, prior to January 28th.
Yes.
And you mentioned Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, is that correct?
Yes.
And were you familiar with them prior to January 28th?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with them?
I'm through Brian Jr., just hanging out with them a few times, so just know them through the family.
And so through the family, well, my next question is, what, if any, relationship did they have to your friend Brian Albert Jr. that you?
They are his aunt and uncle.
And then with respect to Brian Higgins, is that someone that you knew prior to January 20th?
I did not know.
So you met the first time that night at the Fairview?
Correct, yes.
And when they came into the house, this sort of second group, where was it that they went and sort of congregated around the house?
Yeah, we all were still in the same room in the family here. The floor plan, which was the kitchen and the dining room area. Yeah.
And at any point in time, but let me ask you this, they come sometime shortly around or after midnight, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And about how long after they arrived, or about what time was it that you left the house for the evening?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
At some point you went home that night?
Yes.
What time was it?
I would say, give or take, like 1:45.
And so between the time that they came back to the house around 12:15 or so, between that and 1:45, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor in the house at that time?
It was still all the same. Everyone was having fun, hanging out.
Music still playing, people drinking, having a good time?
Yes.
And over the course of this time, as far as the group that you talked about that was in the kitchen and dining room area, did you see any of those people go anywhere else?
I mean, to the bathroom, but I know at one point Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back, but he just opened the back door and watched them from the door and brought him right back upstairs. So that was the only time he went upstairs, but.
And as far as the kitchen and dining room area, do you recall sort of how people were situated around that area during the time that the second group was there?
Yeah, we were all sitting in the kitchen table. It's like a square table, so we're all just hanging out around there. Some at the island in the kitchen, but mostly all just there together.
Do you recall specifically, I know we're talking over 2 years ago, do you recall specifically where people were within that area around the table?
I don't know.
Do you recall where you were?
I was sitting in the corner, so I could see the island, the kitchen table, the front door, and the windows, I guess. Yeah.
Where you were seated around the table, could you see the front door?
Yes.
And so beyond the people that you'd already talked about being in that kitchen dining room area in that second group, did anybody else come into the house that night while you were there?
No.
And at the time on January 28, 2022, were you familiar with either a person named John O'Keefe or a person named Karen Reed?
No.
And at any point in time, not knowing them, did you see anybody else come into the house while you were there between that 12 to 12:13 and 1:45 minutes?
No one else came in, no.
Now, do you recall who was sort of around you where you were at the table? Immediately around you as well.
I would say Jennifer McCabe, Sarah Levenson, Caitlin. I can remember sitting at the table with me. Yeah.
Now, at some point in the evening, let me ask you this: what if any sort of plans did you have as far as how you were getting home?
Yeah, I did text my brother to see if he could pick me up on his way home with his friend, on their way home to come pick me up, which they did.
Which of your two brothers was that?
My brother Ryan.
So you texted Ryan to see if he could come pick you up?
Yep.
And did you have to give him an address or anything like that, or how did you explain to him where you were?
I just said I was at Brian Jr.'s house, if he could pick me up.
Is that somewhere that your brother had picked you up from on prior occasions?
Yes.
And about what time, if you know, did you send that text to your brother about getting picked up?
I'd probably say a little after, probably like 15 minutes after midnight. Yep.
And as far as the other people in that second group that you were talking about,
Mhm.
did you reach out to Ryan to get picked up? Are those other people there?
Yes.
And you indicated that your brother then came to the house at some point.
Yes, he did.
And about how long after you texted him did he arrive? If you know?
I'm not quite sure.
And when he arrived, did he come into the house or did he reach out to you in any way to let him know?
He just texted. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Did he reach out to you at any point to let you know that he was?
Yes, he did text me saying that he was outside.
And upon receiving that text, where did you go?
I went out through the front door.
Now, before you went out through the front door, what, if any, conversation, well, let me strike that as far as conversation, but who, if anyone, did you speak to about the fact that your brother was outside the house?
Yeah, I just mentioned saying my brother's outside. I do remember someone or a few,
I want to hear the answer first.
just a few people saying, "Oh, just have your brother come in." So I went outside, and it was my brother in the passenger seat, his friend Ricky, and then his ex-girlfriend Heather. I asked them if they wanted to come in. They said no.
I'm going to let that stand. The next question.
So you go outside to where your brother is, right?
Yes,
And you recall which of the two front doors you used to go outside?
I used the front door.
Front door is the one with the brick steps, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
You come down the brick steps, go down the walkway. Do you recall how you came down to where your brother was?
I walked down the steps through the little path, and then down the driveway. And they were parked right in front of the driveway.
So they were parked right at the end of the driveway?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle was this that you came up to?
It was Ricky's pickup truck, of Ford F-150.
And you mentioned that there were 3 people in the truck, is that correct?
Yes.
Where were they seated within the truck? When you
Ricky was driving his truck. Ryan was in the passenger seat, and then Heather was in the back seat.
You mentioned that Heather is Ryan's ex-girlfriend, is that correct?
Correct.
Were they dating at this time?
At that time, yes.
Now, with regard to Ricky is someone who's a close friend of your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
You know him pretty well?
Yep.
And so you get to the truck, do you recall how it was that you were speaking to your brother Ryan? Was it sort of through an open window? Did you open the door? Or how were you communicating?
He rolled down his window.
And when you came out to the truck at the end of the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see in the area of the house on Fairview?
Well, before when I went outside, I did notice another vehicle before my brother pulled up.
So you had gone outside before your brother had, or Ricky had fully sort of parked the truck?
No, he was like fully outside already, and then I went out, and it was just Ricky's truck.
And so at some point later, there was another vehicle that came up?
Prior.
Right.
Correct.
And can you describe that vehicle for the jury? Sort of what did it look like? What kind of vehicle was it?
Yeah, it was a black SUV.
And had you ever seen that vehicle before?
No.
And you go up to the truck and you're talking to your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to, about how long period of time were you talking with your brother next to the truck?
I would say maybe 3 minutes max, not even.
And did you invite your brother and his friends inside the house?
Yes.
How did they respond?
They said, no, we just want to go home. And then I was like, I'll find out another ride home.
And so that brings me to my next question. As far as arrangements for you coming home, was there any, prior to you coming out of the house, was there any talk or discussion about how you would get home if you didn't go home?
Yeah, Matt McCabe and Jennifer did offer to drive me home if I didn't want to go home with my brother. So I just stayed and then took their offer.
So you decided you wanted to stay and took.
Yes,
took
I
them up
agree.
on
Just
their offer.
Correct.
where
yes.
are the other cars?
And in addition to yourself, who if anyone else, went home from the residence on Fairview with you?
It was me and Sarah Levenson.
Now, if I could bring you back to that period of time when you're outside, the vehicle that you were talking about, where is that in relation to the pickup truck that Ricky's driving?
Well, it was like the SUV wasn't there when my brother was there. It was like before. Like when I was inside, I noticed it. Yeah.
And so at the time that you were talking to your brother, the pickup truck, was the SUV still there?
I don't believe so, no.
And so where was that SUV parked in relation to where the truck was?
So when I noticed looking out the window, I did notice the SUV in front of the mailbox, and then pulled up a little bit in front of the yard, and then stopped, and then pulled up again towards the flagpole.
So you saw it in sort of 3 different locations at the time that you were seeing it?
Correct, yes.
And again, where were you in relation to the vehicle at the time that you made these observations?
I was inside at the dining room table, looking out the window.
And at any point in time, did you see anybody come out of that?
I did not know.
And at any point in time, did you see any sort of, well, when you came out initially to, or when you were looking out and when you came out, did you recall anything about the weather and sort of what it was doing at that point?
It was, I would say like flakes of snow, a little dust on the ground.
And so from the dust on the ground, from either the SUV or the pickup truck that Ricky was driving, did you see any sort of like imprints in the snow from tires or anything like that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if there was that much snow or what it was?
Correct.
And as far as anywhere in and around where you had seen the SUV at either of the three spots that you saw it, did you see any sort of like footprints in the snow or in the ground or anything like that? And did you see inside of the vehicle, see anybody inside at any point in time?
No.
And you never saw anybody get out of that vehicle at any of the three different points where you saw it parked, correct?
I did not know.
When you saw the vehicle parked at those three sort of separate different locations, was the vehicle on? Was it running, if you could tell?
I'm not sure. No.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Dolly does suck at asking questions. But I mean, look at her, guys. She is not, I mean, the way she's acting really makes me think she doesn't want to be there. And it's not just, I'm getting the feeling it's not because she's nervous, but what did she see or what does she know or what did she think? Like, there's something up with this woman. I think there's something up with her. Just wait, it gets worse. Oh, I have no doubt it gets worse. Something's up, though. Like, something don't smell right. Yeah, she's waiting for her brother. Where were you when you saw that? Yes. Says, no way she saw it from the table. Yeah, I'm kind of, like, I'm starting to have a problem here with her testimony.
Nagel, I'm going to direct your attention to what's previously marked as Exhibit 71, 72, and 73.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just going to ask you to take a look at those and look up when you're finished. And at some point, I may ask you to use this, which is the laser pointer, press on that button and point it up at the screen. Okay?
Okay.
So first, if you could just look at 71, 72, and 73.
All set.
Generally, with respect to those three photographs, do you recognize what's depicted in them?
Yes.
And what do you recognize?
That it's my friend Brian Albert Jr.'s house.
Is that roughly what the house looked like at the time of January 28th, 29th, 2022?
Correct. Yes.
I could ask you to flip just back to the first one that I showed you, Exhibit 71. Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish that to the jury at this time?
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. We already know this.
So, Ms. Nagel, directing your attention up to the screen above you, sorry, to your right. This is what you have before you as Exhibit 71, is that correct?
Yes.
If you could, using the laser pointer that's on the desk in front of you, if you could direct the jury's attention to the door that you were talking about that you came out in order to come down and talk to your brother.
Yes. That one right there.
Now, with respect to Ricky's truck, when you came out to speak with your brother Ryan, where was the truck parked?
The truck was parked right here.
And with respect to that vehicle, the black SUV, where that vehicle was initially when you saw it? Is that visible in this photograph?
Yes.
And if you could direct your attention where that. Thank you. If I could draw your attention to the next executive session to flip to Exhibit 72, and Ms. Yeoman, if I can have that on. Again, what's up on the screen is that what you have before you as Exhibit 72.
Yes.
Now, the second position that you indicated you observed that black SUV in with relation to the house, if you could, using the laser pointer, draw the jury's attention where that would be in this photograph.
Objection sidebar, Your Honor.
All right. Jurors, feel free to stand up.
All right. That's Brain's mother. Oh, Keith passed out, and she and the others left him in theirs. That's why she searched. And she's the one who searched how long to die in the snow, right? She's the one who did this, right? Am I wrong, or is she the one who does this search? Because somebody does it, or is that McCabe? Because that's the only, like, I'm starting to... Jen McCabe did the Googling. Okay. So we haven't gotten her yet. But she doesn't leave in the car with Jen. Does she leave in the car with Jen McCabe, too? Jen took her phone. Oh. Okay. Oh, Karen's getting her highlighter out. That's a lot of snow, but that's also blowing. Snow. That's not the way it was when she left that night.
You indicated in your testimony that you saw the vehicle.
Also, real quick,
Yes.
guys, that's not my chair. My chair is nice and quiet. That's her chairs. That's their chairs.
You indicated the first point is the last photograph. Is the second point that you saw the vehicle in? Is that depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
You could use the laser point just direct your attention to that second point. Was it you saw?
Okay, so she's in the McCabe car. That's what I thought. Thank you for helping me clarify.
If I could ask you just to flip to the next exhibit, number 73. If I can have that up. And Ms. Nagel, with regard to the third point, or the third different location that you observed that black SUV on that morning.
Hold on, Chad. We got to go back.
Or the third
Ah. That's funny. All right, let's keep it going.
different location that you observed that black SUV on that morning. Is that visible in this photograph?
Yes.
And again, using the laser pointer, if you could direct your attention where you observed it at the third point that you observed the black SUV. Thank you.
So she observed something.
Thank you.
So even Lally's getting her to admit she saw something? So when did it get there? I mean, she's the first person. It's only her that saw this body in the snow. She didn't say to anybody else. Hey, guys, look at that thing. It looks like a body. This is how we're tying John O'Keefe's body to the scene by getting run over by Karen Reed. Is this person? So, shit's weak, man. Shit is weak.
So, Ms. Nagel, you speak with your brother outside, and then at some point after a couple minutes come back inside. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the people that you would mention
I
that were
beg
in
to
the
differ.
kitchen and dining room area.
See, that's the thing, J-Rock. I beg to differ. I mean, I'm almost 40 years of winters. You can see in the snow. It's not hard. Especially the snow would not have been that thick yet. Like when snow starts falling and it starts covering things up, you see things very well for a little while. Like they're very well outlined. It's kind of weird. They would have seen a body in the snow. That would not have been impossible.
Were they still in that area?
Yes.
And at some point over the course of the evening, things
That too.
eventually start to wind down and
Everything gets
people are
brighter.
leaving the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you recall what order it was that people left the house on that?
I'm not quite too sure. No.
Sorry, J-Rock. Well, you're a
And
southerner.
with respect to yourself, you indicated that you left with Miss Levenson and the McCabe, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who, if anyone else, was present in the home when you left?
I'm not sure. No.
And so when you left, how was it that you came out of the residence at that point?
Out the front door.
Same front door that you had indicated earlier.
Yes.
So let's move on with which door, please. Go ahead.
You come out from that door. Where was it that you
Went into Matt and Jennifer's car.
Do you recall anything about the car, what type of car it was, or
It was an SUV, but I don't know what kind it was.
and where was that vehicle parked when you went over to?
I was in the driveway.
And do you recall sort of how you came from the front door to the driveway?
Just walked on through the path of the pathway in the front yard and then out the door.
So sort of along the brick path through the driveway to the car.
Yes.
Recall when you got in the car where it was you were seated or where anyone else was seated in the car?
Yeah, it was Matt driving, Jennifer in the front, and then me behind Matt, and then Sarah next to me in the back behind Jen.
Now, after you get in the car, about how long was it before the car backs out of the driveway?
I'm not quite too sure.
And what, if any, conversation do you recall as far as going on during that period of time prior to the car backing out and going?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Now, when the vehicle leaves from the house, at some point it's going by the house, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall which side of the McCabe's vehicle was facing towards the house? And by that, I mean, was it the side you were sitting on or the side that Ms. Levenson was sitting on?
The side that Sarah was sitting on.
And that would have been the passenger side, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time that the vehicle was driving by the house, what is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation. So Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah. We were talking about making PB and jelly sandwiches because there was some peanut butter and jelly and bread in the car. So talking about that.
I mean, I just thought it was bread.
But yeah.
And so when Ms. McCabe she's in the front seat, is that right?
Yes.
And she's talking to you and Ms. Levenson, correct?
Yes.
And how is it that she's positioned, talking to you with relation to the seat that she's in?
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit towards us in the back seat.
And what I'm asking is, she turned towards sort of the center of the vehicle, or she turned towards the window next to it?
Towards the center of the vehicle.
And you're speaking to her and to Ms. Levenson, correct?
Yes.
Which direction are you facing?
Facing towards Sarah and Jen.
And which direction is Sarah facing as you're having this conversation?
Towards me.
And as you drive by the home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
And from where you were situated in the car, do you know sort of what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw by the flag?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
So the snow coming down at that point?
yes.
And if you know about where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I'd probably say close to the street, but in their lawn, right kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
Now, I'm sorry to do this again, but Ms. Gilman, Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would just ask that exhibit number 72 be back up on the screen.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I should actually ask for exhibit number 73. Now, Ms. Nagel, if I could ask the area where you saw this black object, can you see that area depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to where, as specific as you can be, where you observed it. Now, as the vehicle is going by the house, as you make that observation, what, if anything, did you say in the backseat of the car?
I did say out loud, I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was. But I was also intoxicated drinking. So didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, what, Julie? And I was like, I don't know what it was. And then that was kind of really it.
And that was sort of the end of the conversation in reference to that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
I may have a moment, Your Honor. Ms. Nagel, if I could, there's actually one more question. With regard to the object that you saw in that area, the flagpole, can you describe how big an object it was that you saw?
I'd probably say 5 or 6 feet, long. but
And at the time that you're driving by at that point, you can tell what it was.
not quite sure. No, it was just too quick to tell.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you.
Christina?
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon, Ms. Nagel.
Good afternoon.
On January 28th of 2022, you got to 34 Fairview Road at about 6 or 7 p.m.,
Correct.
and you didn't leave until 1:30 or 2 a.m., correct?
1:45 around there. Yeah.
Okay.
So you were there approximately
Okay.
8 hours?
I'm not really sure about the math, but I guess so.
A lot of hours.
Yep.
Other than the people who lived at the home and slept there, you were one of the ones to spend the most time there that night, correct?
I'm not sure.
You got there early.
The wee woos are setting off the
You got
lie
there early,
detector.
correct?
Yes.
And you left late, correct?
Yeah.
And you were inside almost the entire time, correct?
Yes.
That's my issue too.
So you came in contact with just about everybody who came into that house, correct?
Yes.
And you know that everyone who was in the house that night is a witness in this case, correct?
Yes.
The only time you went outside before you left was when your brother Ryan arrived, correct?
Yes.
And even when you went outside, you stayed on the Albert property, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And you had some contact with your brother out there, correct?
Yes.
And you know that he's a witness in this case as well, correct?
I do. Yes.
And despite having contact with all of these witnesses in this case, Trooper Proctor didn't talk to you on January 29th, did he?
No.
Or the rest of January or the whole month of February, correct?
Correct.
He didn't interview you about these statements that you're making today until October of 2022, correct?
If that's what it says on paper, yeah.
October 5, 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know.
It was many months after January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Over 8 months after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And when he spoke to you on October 5, Trooper Proctor asked you for the first time to remember the details from 8 months before that, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And you are good friends with Sarah Levenson, correct?
Yes.
Certainly over the last 2+ years, the two of you have discussed what happened on January 28th and 29th, correct?
Yeah.
And you know that Michael Proctor only interviewed you after the defense in this case filed a motion to get Sarah Levenson's name from the DA's office.
Objection, Your
correct?
Honor. The objection sustained. Next question.
She wouldn't know that.
So you've known Brian Jr. since your sophomore or junior year, correct?
Yes.
And you actually graduated Canton High School in 2016, correct?
Correct.
But you've known him since 2014 or 15,
Yes.
9 or 10 years?
Yep.
He's a good friend.
Yes.
He's a close friend of yours, correct?
Yes.
And on January 28th of 2022, you were one of a select group of his friends who went to his house to celebrate his birthday the following night, right?
Yes.
And you don't go to somebody's house who you graduated high school with 10 years previously to celebrate their birthday if they're just an acquaintance, correct?
Objection.
I don't know.
I'll let the answer stand.
Hmm.
When you got there,
Wow, she
other
let
than
him ask
Sarah
that?
Levenson and yourself, everyone at the house was a member of the Albert family, correct?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Sure. You and Sarah Levenson are not actually Alberts, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But everybody else at the house was when you got there.
No.
You named Brian Albert Jr., correct?
Hmm.
Yes.
Julie Albert,
I did not know.
Nicole Albert,
I did. Yes.
Caitlin Albert,
Yes.
Brian Albert Sr. might have been there.
Yes.
And you knew the Alberts well enough to know the names that we just discussed, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to that, the McCabe's were related to the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
And you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe before that night, right?
I'm sorry. Can you?
Yes. Before January 28th of 2022, you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
Yes.
You had been to their home before,
Who's home?
the McCabe's home.
I don't recall.
You'd driven their daughters around, correct?
I have. Yes.
And you had actually pet sat for the McCabe's Golden Doodle, correct?
Correct, yes.
Their home.
Yes.
And so the answer to my previous question is certainly you've been to their home, correct?
Yes.
And their Golden Doodle was named Bailey, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you knew Jennifer McCabe well enough that you called her by a nickname, correct?
Yes.
What was the nickname that you referred to Jennifer McCabe by?
JJ.
And you knew that JJ was Nicole Albert's sister, correct?
Yes.
Now, on the night of January 28th into the 29th, you saw Brian Albert Sr. After he came back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You were on the first floor of that residence the whole night, were you not?
Yes.
And you have a specific memory of Brian Albert Sr. walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, correct?
Yes.
When Brian Albert Sr. was walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, he maintained control of Chloe's collar, did he not?
He did, yes.
Because she was
You like
fucking
dogs,
going crazy.
right?
I do.
But you didn't pat Chloe, correct?
I have, yes.
That night.
No.
You've never pet sat for Chloe, correct?
No.
But you did hang out regularly at the Albert home for years because of your friendship with Brian Jr., correct?
Yes.
Which meant that you have had contact with Chloe over the years, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that Chloe's a very different dog than Bailey in the McCabe's Golden Doodle, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
Bailey is a friendly dog, is he not?
Objection.
Sustain.
Chloe is not friendly, correct?
Objection.
I'll let you have that. Can you answer
You have to
that?
have that one.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Chloe is not a friendly dog.
I mean, I would say so, yeah.
It was clear to you that she is not good with people, correct?
I'm not aware.
On January 28th and 29th, while you were in the kitchen dining room area, you'll agree with me that there was music playing for most of the night, correct?
For a decent amount, yes.
And that area of the house has surround sound speakers?
Yes.
Everybody was in a good mood?
Correct, yes.
Talking,
Yes.
drinking?
Yep.
Singing,
I don't remember.
dancing?
Yeah.
And all the action was in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
And that was where your attention was mainly focused, was it not?
It was, yes.
Because that's where everybody was.
Yes.
You were not monitoring the basement door, were you?
No.
And you never went down to the basement, correct?
No, I did not.
Prior to January 28th of 2022, you knew who Colin Albert was, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he was your friend Brian Jr.'s first cousin, right?
Correct.
When you were at 34 Fairview, you did see Colin there, correct?
I did, yes.
You believe that he got there shortly after Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Julie Albert left the residence, correct?
At some point, yeah.
And you say at some point, that's because you're not sure of the exact time when he got there, correct?
Correct.
You're also not sure of the exact time when he left, correct?
I would say 11:30, 11:45, around there.
He wasn't somebody who was important to you that night, was he?
Not really, no.
You weren't paying attention to monitor when he came or when he left, were you?
No. I said no.
You never physically watched him walk out the door, correct?
I don't remember.
You can't even say which door he walked out, correct?
I don't know.
You never saw him get picked up.
I did not know.
You never saw any car arrive for him,
I don't know.
and you never saw how he got home.
No.
Now, on January 29th of 2022, after midnight, your brother Ryan Nagel and you lived in the same home, correct?
At the time, yes.
At about 12:15 to 12:20, you texted your brother Ryan for a ride home, correct?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Do you have a screenshot of that text message?
Somewhere, yes.
Did you provide that to any investigator or assistant district attorney?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether any assistant district attorney or investigator asked you for a copy of that text message?
I don't know.
Is that text message still on your phone?
I don't know.
Did you delete that text message?
I don't
Objection,
know.
Your Honor.
So let's move this along, Mr. United.
Why?
When you texted Ryan that night, you were contacting him because you thought it was an appropriate time for you to leave, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long did it take your brother Ryan to get to the Albert home after that text message?
I don't know.
Was it an hour?
I don't think so, no.
Was it a half hour?
I do not know.
So you have no idea how long it took him to get there and how long you stayed after you texted him, correct?
I don't know, no.
By the time you're texting Ryan, Ms. Nagel, how much do you think you had to drink since 6 or 7 p.m.?
A decent amount.
Okay.
Would you say that another word for it would be a lot?
No.
What were you drinking that night?
Michelob Ultras.
And how many did you have?
I don't know, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Did you bring your own Michelob Ultras to the party?
I don't know.
You don't remember
Thousands.
whether you brought any beer to the party?
I don't know.
Where was the beer?
I don't know.
I either brought it or
Do you know
I don't know. I don't remember. It
anything?
was 2.5 years ago.
Where was it within the home?
In the fridge.
You have no memory of like running out of beer that night, correct?
I don't remember, no.
There appeared to be plenty of beer to go around, correct?
For myself, yeah.
Between the time that you texted your brother Ryan and the time he arrived, it's fair to say that you changed your mind about going home with him, correct?
Yes.
You changed your mind while you were still inside the Albert home, correct?
I did not say that, no.
Well, I'm asking you now.
No.
You changed your mind only after you left the residence and went out to talk to him?
Yes.
You claimed on direct examination that he was the one that said, why don't you stay longer?
No, that's not what I said.
That said that you wanted to stay longer.
If myself?
So you told him that you wanted to stay longer, correct?
Yeah. I did.
And when you went outside, you learned that he had come and his friend, is it Ricky D'Antuono? How do you pronounce the name?
It's Ricky D'Antano.
D'Antano. Ryan had come in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I butchered that. When you went outside, you saw that your brother Ryan was in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
Correct, yes.
He was sitting in the front passenger seat of the truck, correct?
Ryan, yes.
The truck was parallel to the Albert's residence, correct?
Yes.
It was not parked in the driveway.
No.
The truck was facing toward Chapman Street, toward going up the hill, correct?
Yes.
So Ryan's seat would have been the closest to the property, right? Passenger seat
I'm sorry, closest to the what?
to the Albert home.
Yes, correct.
You walked down the driveway to get to the truck, correct?
Yes.
Dave's SUV was in the driveway at that point, was it not?
Yes.
And at that point, strike that. I want to go back, if I can, to when you were inside the house, because you had testified that when you were inside, you looked out the window and you saw a different vehicle, correct?
I did, yes.
That was the black SUV.
Yes.
And you've testified that you saw that from within the house, you saw that black SUV move 2 times, correct?
More than 2.
So it was at first parked near the mailbox,
Yes.
and then you saw it move forward, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you saw it move forward again to near the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And was there a third time that you saw it move?
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
All right, and that was all while you were inside the house, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Stopped at the flagpole? Whoa. Oh, whoa, whoa.
Yes.
Nah, we're going back. We're going back. We're going back.
So it was at first parked near the mailbox,
Yes.
and then you saw it move forward, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you saw it move forward again to near the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And was there a third time that you saw it move?
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
All right, and that was all while you were inside the house, correct?
Correct, yes.
And, when it was pulling up like that, Ms. Nagel, it wasn't going 80 miles an hour, correct?
It was not, no.
It wasn't going 50 miles an hour, correct?
I mean, I didn't have a radar gun on me, but no.
It was going at a safe speed, correct?
Yeah.
It wasn't going a very long distance, correct? Each time?
No.
It's a matter of several feet, correct? Adjusting its position?
just pulled up and stopped a few times.
But what the fuck is that? Like, if that's Karen's car, what is she doing? Because that doesn't make much sense. Why is she going like, like, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop? What is she doing?
Right. And as you saw it pull up and stop a few times from within the home, its direction was always forward, correct?
From what I saw, yes.
Right. You never saw that car back up, correct?
No.
You certainly never saw it speed at a crazy pace backwards, correct?
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Now, I'd asked you about the text messages that you had with your friend Ryan, and you could not recall whether any investigator or assistant district attorney asked you for screenshots of that, correct?
My friend or my brother?
Did I say friend?
You did, yes.
Thank you for correcting me. I did mean your brother Ryan, thank you. And I appreciate the fact that you're paying attention, at least one of us is.
Yeah.
So I asked you about the screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan and whether any investigator or assistant district attorney had asked you for them, correct?
I don't remember.
Didn't remember, right. But somebody did ask you for a screenshot, correct?
Yes.
Who was that?
JJ McCabe.
And by JJ, you mean Jennifer McCabe?
Correct, yes.
When JJ asked you, do you remember when it was that JJ, Jennifer McCabe, asked you for a copy of those screenshots?
I do not remember, no.
Did you provide them to Jennifer McCabe?
I did, yes.
Did Jennifer McCabe, when she asked you to provide her with those screenshots, claim that she was an investigator in this case?
Objection.
You can answer that.
Do you mind repeating that, please?
Sure. When Jennifer McCabe, or as you called her, JJ, asked you for screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan, did Jennifer McCabe tell you that she was investigating this case?
No.
And you have no memory of providing those screenshots to any investigator other than Jennifer McCabe, correct?
I don't remember, no.
Okay. Now, when you're ultimately leaving the residence, it's about, I think you said 1:45 a.m. is your best guess?
Yes.
You walked out which door?
The front door.
And that would be the one to the left, right? The real front door of the house.
Yes, correct.
That door faces right to the front lawn, correct?
Yes.
You left with Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Sarah Levenson, correct?
Correct.
And you all went out the same door, correct?
I know what door I went out. I don't know about, it could have been. I don't know if they went through the side, but yeah.
Fair to say that walking out the front door of that house, you saw no body on that front lawn in front of you, correct?
When I walked out?
Correct.
No.
None of the other three people yelled out that they saw a body, correct?
Correct.
You got into Jennifer McCabe's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And you were seated behind the driver, correct?
Yes.
And the driver was Matthew McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat,
Yes.
and Sarah Levenson was sitting next to you behind the front passenger, correct?
Yes.
Matthew McCabe backed the car out of the driveway and then headed up toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
That meant that the passenger side of the vehicle was closest to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
So that meant that Sarah Levenson and Jennifer McCabe were in the seats that were closest to the Albert home, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. As Matthew McCabe was driving that vehicle alongside the Albert property line, Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat and Sarah Levenson in the rear passenger seat were the closest two people to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
And as the car passed in front of the Albert home, you saw no tire tracks in the snow, correct?
I don't remember.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes.
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
A black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024,
Holy
correct?
Jesus.
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now, yeah.
Yeah, Lally, when you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally?
Yes, Mr. Lally, correct, yes.
Mr. Lally just asked you during this trial, again,
Yeah.
right before this jury. That's the first time you've ever been asked or ever given an answer as to how big that object was, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
Did you review any report that was taken when the investigators spoke to you regarding this case before taking the stand today?
No.
You've never testified in a grand jury regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
You've never testified in any hearing regarding this case, correct?
In this hearing, in this case,
Besides today.
no.
And you would agree with me that it is nowhere on record that this black object that you talk about was ever 5 or 6 feet long prior to telling the jury that today.
Objection.
You have to ask that differently, Mr. Unity.
Today, this afternoon, is the first time that you've provided testimony or information to any official regarding this case, that the object was 5 or 6 feet long.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Who did you tell prior to today?
About what?
Okay, I thought we were talking about the fact that you've now testified that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long. You recall that?
Today, yes.
And my question to you was, you've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
And your friend Sarah said what? Or something to that effect, correct?
Correct.
And there was no further conversation after that, correct?
Not that I can remember. No.
And you didn't think that it was a person who was in trouble, correct?
Objection.
Did you think that? At what time, Mr.?
When you were leaving the property, after leaving the house at 1:45 a.m. and getting into the McCabe vehicle and passing
She's breathing really
that
hard
along the
now.
Albert lawn, you did not think that you saw a person who was in trouble, correct?
No.
Or a person that may have needed help, correct?
Exactly, J-Rock.
I don't know, no.
And you were right there, correct, passing the property?
I was passing the property,
Not
yes.
as close to the property as your friend Sarah Levenson, but you were in the back seat on the driver's side, correct?
Correct.
And you were in a car such that if you thought that you saw something that could have been a person, all you had to do was tell the driver, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell the driver that you saw somebody who was in trouble?
Well, I said it out loud in the car.
So is it your testimony now that you said out loud in the car, there's a person who's in trouble?
That's not what I said, no.
You didn't mention a person at all in the car, correct?
No.
You did not tell Matthew McCabe, hey, stop the car, correct?
I did not know.
If you had seen a person in the snow lying there, you would have done something about it, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You didn't ask Matthew McCabe to stop.
No.
You didn't ask him to back up.
Nope.
You didn't ask him to check on whatever it was.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
No.
You had your phone with you, correct?
Something so memorable.
Your phone was working, correct?
I don't remember.
You used
A thing that you remember so succinctly because you know it doesn't belong there that you comment on it now. And you're like, gee, I'm just going to fucking ignore it and drive along. And you're like, is that a person? Is that something in there? What the fuck is that? Oh my God. I'm trying to be quiet, chat, because I want to see where this goes. But my God. Holy jeez.
that phone to text your brother.
Hour and a half before.
Are you testifying today that your phone was completely out of charge?
I don't remember, no.
Did you text your good friend Brian Albert Jr. to tell him that you saw somebody lying on his front lawn?
Did I text him
Yes.
that night?
as you are supposedly seeing this black object, in
Objection.
the immediate aftermath of that, did you text Brian Albert Jr. to tell him about that black object?
So in that form, it's sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. United.
You had your friend Sarah Levenson with you, correct?
I did in the car, yes.
You knew she was a nurse, correct?
Yeah.
You didn't tell your friend Sarah
Hey,
that you just saw somebody lying in the snow during
Yeah.
a blizzard who might need some help, correct?
Yes.
I did not know.
That Brian Jr.'s father was a police officer, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
So let's move this. Are you just about done with this line of questioning? I'll give you a little bit more.
There's a couple more questions.
I mean, I really am like, I get there's all kinds of stuff with 289 people watch it, guys. Thank you for being here. I don't understand why all of these people are so fucking shady and so fucking sketchy right now. Automata is kind of summed up what I'm thinking here. For $5, he's like, not sure about the whole conspiracy angle, but is she uneasy because she drew the short straw and has to make this claim? It kind of seems like it. She happens to be the only moron that saw this happen. And she's the first and only person to see O'Keefe's body in the snow. I mean, I find that so goddamn hard to believe. Really, I find this really, 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 really hard to believe. And she doesn't tell anybody. So, and here's the thing. That night, if you didn't see it, fine. Okay, cool. You know what? Here's how this would work. Let's say it was you guys, because here's how I would handle it. Oh, yeah, man, we had a great party, and I was going home with somebody. Like, you know, when my friends picked me up and took me 2.0 home, oh, I saw something weird out in the yard there. Next morning, hey, one of the guys at our party is dead. And it's like, well, where'd they find him? They found him right there. Oh, my God, that was him. Guess what I would do? I would tell people, like, holy shit, I saw him. Then I'd say, hey, an attorney, what should I do? And then with that attorney, I would go talk to the police with that attorney with me and say, hey, look, I saw a body like at 1:45 last night. I'm pretty sure that was him. I wouldn't just that's not the kind of shit you take and you just go like, you're sitting right here and you just go, you take that. It's like a little strip of information you got here. You're going to take that and you're just going to go, whoop. Just keep that in your fucking pocket for later. You wouldn't do that. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on here? What happened? And she didn't tell anybody. I mean, here's the thing. She was never deposed or interviewed about what she saw. That's a problem. That's a secondary issue. But Lally they didn't stop and say Lally just kept going. But Yannetti brought up, that's the first time we've ever heard that statement. Like if I was Lally, I'd have been like, oh, okay, what? I would have been like, wait, what? You saw a body now? At 1:45 in the morning, you saw a goddamn body? I'd be like, we need to figure this out. This witness needs to be questioned. Because this is something nobody knew. This is just. Yeah, I mean, he didn't flinch. So did he actually know that was going to happen? I kind of get the feeling he did. Garrett says, let the bodies hit the lawn. I know we're almost done here too, chat, so hold on. But seriously. or she's lying. But why would you fucking lie? Why would you make all this up? I mean, here's the deal. If I knew somebody who got clipped, I ain't making shit up and sticking myself in the middle of a murder conspiracy. I ain't sticking myself in the middle of shit like that. I ain't co-signing on that line. Why would you? You have to be dumber than a fucking doornail because it doesn't help you. And you could get like an obstructing charge. Why would you just come in and make all this up? I mean, Sean's voice cracked at puberty. I mean, seriously. What just happened? I mean, this is the plow driver didn't see it, but the plow driver's busy plowing. Like he's making sure there's nothing in the road he's gonna run over. So I'm not necessarily surprised. And if you're plowing, you're throwing shit up in the air anyway. And if you're plowing, you're generally plowing towards the right-hand side. So what's out to the right front, generally you can't see. Sunshine's saying very specific, Sean. I mean, yeah, it's like, I just don't, I'm completely lost right now. Because you're already implicated by the Alberts. Yes. But she could just say, I plead the fifth. I ain't got shit to say. Lally had to know. He didn't even stop. He didn't even stop because now because now she's saying she saw a body or a shape of a body. And that's new. Like, wait, she saw the murder victim that nobody ever saw before. That would cause me to stop in my tracks. And like, I would need a minute to be like, what the fuck just happened? I wouldn't lose my shit in court, but I'd be like, Judge, I need a recess. Like, we need a break because something's not right. She yelled in the car and no one else cared either. Maybe Lally missed. There's no way he missed that. There's no way he missed that. Something's not right here. Something's not right. So they must have known she was going to say that. Do witnesses ever call you Martin? Oh, they'll say Mr. Martin or something like that on the stand, or they'll, sometimes they just sneer at you and, they want to say, fuck you or something like that. But other than that, no. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. How close are we to a mistrial by now? You are not even within a mile of that. I'm trying to tell you guys, you are not even within sniffing distance of that. You're not even close. So. But guys, you know the story better. Tell me where I'm wrong. If that's literally something we have never heard before. Yeah. Anyways, let's finish up here. 300 people watch. 305 watching. Thank you, guys.
Go ahead.
You knew that he was a police officer, correct?
Yes.
And obviously a first responder as a police officer, right?
Yeah.
And you knew that that was Jennifer McCabe's brother-in-law, correct?
Yes.
And Jennifer McCabe was in the car with you, correct?
Yes.
You didn't tell Jennifer McCabe or JJ to call her brother-in-law, correct?
No.
The fact of the matter is, you did nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you did not see a body on that lawn, correct?
Objection.
Is that true?
Can you answer that?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk, right?
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah.
You believe that except for Matt McCabe, who was driving, everybody in the car was drunk, right?
Objection.
I don't know.
I'm going to let that answer stand.
You have previously testified, I'm sorry, strike that. You have previously given a statement indicating that you believe that everybody in that car except for Matthew McCabe was drunk. Do you deny that?
I don't remember at this moment.
All right. You told investigators that when Brian Albert Jr. called you the next morning and you found out about the tragedy the previous night, you, quote, put two and two together, correct?
I did, yes.
And when you put two and two together, you did not call the Canton police, correct?
I did not know.
Not call the state police, correct?
Nope.
Not call the district attorney's office.
Nope.
You would agree with me that you just sat on this revelation, correct?
I would.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, that's sustained in that form.
And you were not interviewed by any investigator in January, February, March, or any time over the spring or summer of 2022, correct?
I don't remember the time frame, but not right after, no.
And when an investigator finally spoke to you, it was Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
He was the one who took your statement on October 12th of 2022, correct?
If that was the date and time, yes.
And that was over 8 months after you were driving past the Albert home at around 2 a.m. while you were drunk and supposedly seeing some black object, correct?
Before 2 a.m., yes.
And you know, Ms. Nagel, that as of October of 2022, the defense had, in this case, had publicly announced that
Objection, Your Honor.
that house saw
All
a
right.
body on that property.
So that question's improper. I'm going to strike that question.
Get it out there. I know what he's going though. You go for it.
All right.
So we're going to break. I have to bring you back tomorrow. Okay, so jurors, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it. Let us know if it actually stands. And we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow's a full day.
All rise in the court, please.
Okay. Oh shit, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't bring this back up.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
You can stand.
My apologies, guys. Sorry, I didn't bring that up to full size.
Ms. Nagel, you can stand. And then when the last juror goes.
I can go. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Now you're all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to see if we could see Turtle Boy in there today.
To the backyard,
We
correct?
can't. I wanted to see if I could see Turtle Boy. Oh well. Hope he was in there. Hope he was in there. But yeah, it looks like they're doing a little sidebar action, and that's it. All right. Poisonous Paradox. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. Say she saw an out of place object in her statement to police, so the story is at best embellished. He's excluded for Julie. Okay. Yeah, if she's drunk off her ass, that's this was a okay. Brian Albert talking about, yeah, we broke all our phones. It just happened to be like the day before the letter came in not to do it. Oh, yuck. And now this? I mean, what? I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm thinking. I don't know why. So here's what I'm thinking, chat. Here's how I'm thinking about this right now. Here's how I'm thinking about this right now. Let's say I'm Lally. Let's say I am Lally. Okay. Let's say I'm Lally. I keep saying this: a trial is a story, and you have to tell a story a certain way. And I'm really thinking here, chat. Like I am really fucking thinking here. You could do this a couple different ways. The cops showing up, starting off with them. Firefighters showing up. I would leave out I'd bring up what Karen Reed said. I would go through that. I would then bring in the doctors who treated him. And then I would bring in the medical examiner. And I would go there. That's where I would go. Because I've got I need to get it out that Karen fucking hit this guy and killed him. Because that's my theory of the case. Karen ran him the fuck over. Whether it was murder or his OVI manslaughter or vehicular manslaughter, whatever they have in Massachusetts. That's what I need. I've got, and Lally, there's no way Lally's looked at this and said these are banger witnesses. These are fucking awful witnesses. He has to know that. Although the way he's questioning them, I'm not sure he knows these are shit witnesses. He's got to know. There's no way in hell he doesn't. There's no way in hell he doesn't know this. There's no way in hell they haven't like mock tried this like in a conference room, hanging out, getting ready, getting somebody from the prosecutor's office to run cross or just critique the case, or get another prosecutor's office like, hey, can we bounce some critiquing off you? There's no way they didn't know this. So if you've got all these shitty witnesses, why wouldn't you run all your forensic data, all your evidence? Karen Reed hit him. Here's the tail light. Here's all the smashed pieces. There's John O'Keefe's bloody picture up on the thing. He's dead, folks. Dead as Dillinger. All fucked up. And there's like Goodyear run flat tread marks across his face. Whatever. All the things you could show. All the things you can do. All the things there. That would be how I tell it. And then I bring in these witnesses to fill in the gaps. Because now you've got Karen Reed killing this guy, the dead guy on, like, the jurors have that in their mind. That's the first thing they've got right on top. And then all this other shit starts bouncing off of them. Oh, there's some evidentiary issues. She fucking ran him over and killed him. Oh, yeah, Brian Albert's a piece of shit. She fucking ran him over and killed him. She ran him over and killed him. She ran him over and killed him 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 and killed him. That would be how I do it. This makes no goddamn sense at all. I am really confused about why he's putting it on like this. Because right now, all these jurors are hearing is really sussy stuff. Sussy evidence collection. Sussy investigations. Sussy witnesses. Everything is sus. And what's not sus is really fucking boring. I mean, if it's not really weird, it's really fucking boring. And he's doing this. And now that's sitting in the jurors' minds for like 2 weeks now. We're marinating them in this bullshit. And then at the end, you're going to be like, oh, look, here's all the scientific evidence. You've occupied their mind. It's all just going to bounce off. I mean, I don't know why he's doing it this way. I really don't. And I'm not trying to like scream and panic about this. It just, if I was going to prosecute Karen Reed and I knew I had all this available to me, I would go the route of she fucking ran him over and killed him. You figure it out, chat. I'd be like, you figure it out, jury. Yeah, great. Cell phone's dead. She fucking hit him. But instead, we've got all this there. This is... I mean, J-Rock, I know you're there. Am I wrong? If you were prosecuting this, you do it the way I'm thinking, right? You get the forensics and the hard science out there to say she did this. J-Rock says, I have a wound expert, car accident expert, and impact. Oh, I think the defense has all of that lined up. The defense has all that lined up from what I understand. But I'm just saying, if I'm trying to convict her, he's doing it the wrong way around. I think it's the wrong way around. It's entirely the wrong way around here. And I just don't. Do you have any idea why Lally never seems to draw the sting? I don't know. It's really weird to me. It's really weird why he isn't doing that. The fucking cell phone thing, all these things, none of them make sense. I mean, shit, man. Like, this does not. I am Lally. Like, bro, like, shoot me an email. I'll keep it confidential, okay? As a consultant. I don't know what okay, here's the deal. Maybe Defense Diaries knows Bob and Allie are smart as fuck. They're really good at this. Maybe Joshua Schaefer, those guys on Core TV really know. Maybe the Long Crime people have this figured out. I am really struggling at what the battle plan is here. I mean, I've been doing this about 5/14. Yeah, I mean, I'm just short. I'm like less than 30 days away from my 10-year anniversary being licensed. I don't understand where the fuck we are right now. I really don't. And I'm trying really, really, really hard to figure it out. I don't see the game plan. Like, you give a guy an infantryman. You could put a couple of infantrymen on the side of a hill and they could figure out interlocking fields of fire. What are the advances of attack? And they would prepare and dig in a plan. I'm looking at the Karen Reed trial so far, and I don't see what their game plan is. Like, overall, yes, she did it. Okay, I get that. I don't see it. I don't see it. Now, I understand there's things that come out. There's like a 911 call. There is Karen Reed gave an interview. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff we haven't gotten to yet. And if we're going to get to all that shit, this has not been done the right way. Like I said, get the hard stuff out front. Get the science out front. Put the sus in the. You make a sussy sandwich. You got the science, okay? You got your breads, right? You got your science, and then you've got all the Karen Reed stuff you're gonna hang her with. And then right here in the middle, you got the Albert family being real sketchy. You got Brian Higgins and all these other mopes. Fucking sandwich it. Instead, this is like, it's an open-faced sandwich. What happens to those? Open-faced sandwiches are a disaster. As a professional fat guy, I can tell you, they're usually not the best. You gotta have control. You gotta have control in that sandwich. Positive control. Just levels, I'd like to see you're a little sussy. Well, little is I guess in terms of perspective. Yeah, you mean prosecute. They have not done this, yeah. The medical examiner doesn't support the Commonwealth. The cause of death is unknown. Well, that doesn't mean they don't support him. That doesn't mean they don't support it. It's just I couldn't tell how he died. So it could be murder. Yeah, it could be homicide. Yes. But it could also be accidental. Yes. Patty B says, how's she going to explain her brother's statement conflicts with her? I don't know. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry for all of that just now. I'm sorry. I kind of went through all that. I'm like, I just don't get it. Maybe like I said, Emily Baker, Runkle, Kurt, they're all smart. They are smart, and I'm willing to concede they're smarter than me. Kurt, Runkle, and Emily definitely are. don't understand this. I am really fucking lost right now. Looks is because the ad evidence isn't much better. Yeah. The forensics are worse than the witnesses. Well, I'd still run with them because this is not good. There have been no MEs or experts 11 days in. That's not necessarily an issue. That's not an issue yet. Sometimes you got to tell the story the way you tell your story. The squid for $10 though is saying thank you for the super chat, by the way. And guys, every one of you super chat tonight. Squid, Pseudosnark, Automata, Unhung Hero, all you guys, thank you so very much for your super chats. I truly appreciate it. Very, very much. It says Jen asking Julie for the screenshots of her text says like Jennifer wanted a timeline to get their stories straight. That's really fucking weird too, man. That's really weird. Hubbleson says showing the damage of the car. Well, yeah, and you'd show the car, you'd show all that stuff. But Zaven says the jury has to know this is not normal. I'm hoping so. But Aaron says he doesn't believe his own case. Yeah, I don't know about that. Sam is saying Lally is defending the Albert family. You know, it's easier way defending the Albert family. It looks like a car hit him. We don't know what car. Like, there's easier ways to make this an unsolved murder or an unconclusive death. Hit by a snowplow. Nobody ever knows. He was drinking, fell down, cracked his head on the sidewalk, and the snowplow hit him. Done. There's so many easier ways to cover this up. I mean, Katie says, if I'm a juror right now, well, the state has not presented its case, so it's automatically not guilty. Remember, the state has to present its case, and they have only presented witness testimony. There's been nothing else like that they've planned to show. Like, I would be not guilty right now. I'd have problems with the evidence the state collected at this point, too. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch through your things now. How much time does state have left? They've got a couple more. It's supposed to be a 6-week trial, so they're getting pretty close, I assume. Yes, but he is incapable of asking the direct questions. Yeah, that's, well... J-Rock's only a Fed lawyer. Don't get him involved. Well... There's too much sting to draw. It doesn't matter. You draw it out. You never want to look like you're hiding shit. Now, if you're prosecuting, yeah, fine. I guess you can get away with hiding stuff. But as a defense attorney, no, you always draw it all out. You draw all the ire out. You get people throwing themselves on the sword as soon as you can. You don't hide any of it. None of it. His strategy is to bog them down in the hopes they do what juries, which is usually convict. Yeah, but I mean, I think the jury's going to be, I mean, maybe. The only thing I could think of. But that is a dangerous. That's on a case like this. It's one thing if it's like smaller cases, but on a case of this scale, that's a dangerous gambit to run. I would not be running that gambit here. I would not be running that gambit, but I'm a scared little bunny rabbit when it comes to this stuff. I try to think with a little bit of tactic and strategy. Luke says, so you admit you're wrong about this case? Well, not yet, but it's looking bad. It's looking bad. I told you, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But for now. It's snowing when you were sitting at the high top table listening to a love band. Yeah, that's been all. Runkle's wondering if they got pushed to this case and Lally wants to say, I tried, I presented the evidence. I mean, I assume Lally's probably, like, I can't imagine Lally hasn't told his boss, like, do I have to, I mean, okay, this is me ceiling catting this right now, chat. Like, I guess I mean, because Lally's not just some like fucking douchebag who just got hired. He's been there for a while. They're trusting this case with him. I mean, they haven't like why isn't it like if I was Lally, I'd be like, kick this shit off. Let the state AG run it. I don't fucking want this. I wouldn't want this trial. I'd punt it. I'd ask not to do it. I guess, but this just because here's the deal: if you're like that goes against the idea that this is protecting the Alberts because if Karen Reed's acquitted, boom, then the Eye of Sauron goes shung right on the Alberts. Oh, Andrew Burkhart's. I forgot about Andrew Burkhart. She's smarter. She's really fucking smart. She's a lot smarter than me. So yeah, I love Andrea. She's great. She said the same thing. He was going backwards. Yeah, well, that makes me feel better. Some people are kind of they're not agreeing with me. My thoughts are matching up with the thoughts of far better practitioners. An open-faced sandwich is not a sandwich. Well, technically it is. Yeah. How would you feel if you didn't have an open-faced sandwich, Sean? I'd be very sad and I'd be very hungry. Kind of like I'm getting right now. Emily's confused too? Okay. Nobody gets it. They don't get it either. Okay, this makes me feel better. Runkle says scary. Well, yes, he is very smart. He's a very intelligent man. It's a pizza and open-faced sandwich. That's a really good fucking question. I mean, kinda is. I mean, now I'm gonna burn some coffee thinking about this, Savin. That's a good one. Is a pizza an open-faced sandwich? I mean, break Einstein's brain. Emily's confused, yeah. But you have chat to help even the odds. Yes, I do. You guys are smart. It does help me out. Squid says, I think the FBI investigation messed up Lally's game plan. He didn't know how to adjust. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, but yes, to be fair, the DOJ loves nothing more than nailing cops and prosecutors scalps to their wall. I mean, they really do. So, but thank you for the super chat. Mama Sora says, don't put yourself down, Sean. You're awesome. I'm not trying to put myself down. I always just make it clear. I am far from the smartest bear in the woods. I will never, ever claim to be. Are they saying she broke the taillight with his face? I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to have to come down to. Is basically because there's no, because I've seen enough auto accidents. These plastic bumpers, you'll leave dents and scuffs and things in it. And there's nothing to indicate she hit a big, flat-footed Mick with her car at speed. So I don't know how else it would have happened. I think that's what their theory is going to have to be. Was JJ on the stand yet? No. Support the stream, Sean. Wouldn't mind a donation of 10% of your income. I certainly wouldn't donate. I certainly won't turn that down. I put money on Gemma K breaking on the stand. I don't know. Because then you're being like conspiracy to murder. Like, yeah, people will keep it together as best he can. Eastwind Farms. Hello. Sorry, guys. I'm just scrolling through your scene, find some new names. Thank you for being here. If Brian Hoover brought O'Keefe out to the side of the road and dumped him, hoping it would continue to snow cover him up, and a snowplow would do the damage for them, feasible? Yeah, but he doesn't. But here's the thing: when a snowplow hits him, like it's going to sever body parts. There's a very good likelihood. Like it might cause a lot of damage, which if I killed somebody, that would be great because I could hide trauma. I could camouflage it with a snowplow, a big metal blade being pushed by like a dump truck going 25 miles an hour, just right into it. Think about all the bruising and internal body damage. Let's say it fucking throws him in the air, like a leg goes flying, or depending on how the road's set, it might be a little uneven. He kind of gets stuck under the blade and drug along for a minute, and that like he gets ground into the road a little bit, or maybe the truck runs him over. A dump truck smushing him. That kind of helps me if I'm trying to cover up physical trauma of me beating someone to death. So yeah, I don't know why they just left them on the side of the road. Like, that's shitty thinking. But I also understand they're probably like, well, wait, if it doesn't snow hard enough. But then there's the other thing: you throw them on all black clothes, and hope nobody's paying attention, and like, bump, speed bumps them. Turtle Boy said he believes the jury's in buying their case so far. Yeah, I'll take his word for it since he's watching. Let's see here, guys, trying to catch up. Sleazy says for $10 for the F4 Phantom Fund. Anyone else from chat gonna help? I'm not doing DCS. I can't. I would. My future wedding to Lovely 2.0 would not happen if I did that. Because I would never do anything else but trial streams and then flight sim streams. So no, I can't do that. But thank you for the super chat. Rocco says date night for him. Oh, well, hope he's having fun. Becca Lynn for $5 says, thank you, Sean. Appreciate all your commentary. Well, thank you. Luke says if they don't get a conviction, the feds might come for their asses. Well, feds will come for your ass. Feds coming for your ass anyway if they want to come for your ass. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No. Especially because the hot dog is all like one piece of bread. You're kind of like rolling it up. Alice is correct. It's a pie. I mean, how about a vegetable pizza? Because that's not. Yeah, whatever. I'm not arguing with you guys. Yes, please hit the like button, guys. I appreciate it. Turtle Boy is live on Spaces right now. Yeah, guys, we're going to hang this up for a minute. If you guys are interested, I don't know who's on right now, but that might be a good one. Brian Keefe wanted to date Karen. I mean, Brian Higgins wanted to date Karen. Here. Oh, I'm finally caught up. Biscuits and gravy is an open faced sandwich. No, that is not. Biscuits and gravy, while very good, and I love biscuits and gravy, or shit on a shingle, those are not sandwiches. Turtle Boy's YouTube was suspended for a week. Oh, that's bullshit. Oh. Pizza's a pie, Sean. We'll see about that. You should cover Turtle Boy's charging document. Well, get that together for me. We'll look at that together. Am I live tomorrow? Yes. And that's the thing, guys. If you're all here, so we're all to the end. Scheduling for tomorrow. I am home. We're doing it. We're doing it live all day. What is Spaces? If you go on Twitter, that's where you get to listen to people talk. And then Thursday, we're doing it live. Friday, I got to be on the road doing some lawyering stuff. That said, though, tomorrow I've got a shitload of work to do. So I'm going to have to do it all. And I may have to run out at lunch to go mail something at the post office. So I may have to run out and then come back. But that's the game plan. So we're going to be here tomorrow. And we're going to be here Thursday. As far as what's going on tonight, guys, yeah, I don't think we're going to do another stream tonight just because this ran long. Tomorrow night, actually, wait. Yeah, because tomorrow night, guys, we will do members only for YouTube. Tonight, we'll do members only for YouTube. Puller Caden just not I can't do that. No. I would not. No, I don't need to make a shitty reputation for myself. Because that's the thing. When you don't show up, you make a shitty name for yourself, and that's not good. And you shit on the wealth. You shit on the generosity of the court if you ever need something from them. And you ever want the judge to cut you some slack and you don't show up, they'll tell you to fuck yourself, basically. So, no, you don't ever want to do that. Content Lasagna says, you should bring the chick on tomorrow. Who's the chick? I don't know who you're talking about. J-Rock says, you know that FedEx will come pick up stuff at your house. Yeah, but I just need to file. It's an appeal. I need to get filed. I'm not paying FedEx prices. It's getting the mail. It's got to get there. And then I got a couple of letters. The letters I can just stamp and throw in the mail at the corner is two of the guys I got because I do appeals for people, and those are court appointed because nobody ever has money for appeals. Two of the guys just came back, their appeals got shot down, so I got to give them the next steps. Yeah, tomorrow night we'll do some police cam vids. We'll do some body cam stuff and hang out. Yeah, Content Lasagna, I was asking you, who do you want me to bring on? You said that person. Yeah, EDB does a lunch break and starts a new stream. I think I'm probably going to do it that way, guys, because I got to get back. I got to get this stuff done, so. Coffin offer. I have no Fed boys on. No, tomorrow night's members only, J-Rock. Tomorrow night, because we'll have time. The one lady who's a mod on your channel who was on the stream about a week ago. Do you mean Hella? Excited Utterance? I'll have her around, but I think she's just got some stuff going on. If she's available, I'll invite her on. She's always got an invitation, though. Do you not get paid for those appeals if they don't have the money? No, you're court appointed, so I get appointed. I mean, it's nice because you can talk to them over the phone. You can email them while they're in prison. If they're close enough, I can go see them. And, you're doing all your work from home. Every once in a while, you have to go do an oral argument, but you're court appointed, so you get paid. Not a ton, but it's, work you can do sitting around. So, no, you do get paid for them. Now, every once in a while, somebody privately pays you for an appeal and, fucking make it rain time, but those don't usually happen. So what's tonight? If anything, nothing. Is there a cooking stream? Yeah, but I don't know what I'm cooking yet. So no cooking stream. So yeah, nothing else. You know what, guys? You know what? Fuck. Give me an hour and a half. 10:30, we'll come back on. That's what we're doing tonight. 10:30. I got a story we could talk about. Well, actually, no, we can't talk about that tonight. Your gift should be there Friday. It doesn't explode. Go into my P.O. box or into my house? Do Turtle Boy tonight, you coward. Okay, fine. Send me... Luke, you got Discord. Send me his document. We'll go over it. I'll take a look at it. All right? 10:30 here on YouTube, chat. 10:30 here on YouTube. So I'm saying you need to be here. Oh, I don't want Turtle Boy on because he's still under indictment, and I don't want him saying things that could affect himself. He's free to talk on his own, but I want to look at it. So we're going to take a look at that tonight, chat. We'll take a look at that tonight, 10:30, all right? Give me some time to eat and figure out what's going on and spend some time with the lovely missus. Lone Alaska says, outside of criminal cases, what do you enjoy working on? Also, thank you for being here. Do you mean like legal wise? I mean, that's the fun stuff. I mean, you know, divorces and family law and child custody cases, children's services cases, suing people for this, that, or the other. I mean, those things make money, but it's the criminal stuff's the fun. If you mean like hobbies, well, I mean, this is kind of one of those hobbies. But I mean, I enjoy going to the range, in the driving range or the shooting range. I like to go foraging for fun. Like haven't been out this year, but I'm hopefully this summer. Well, the summer definitely going to go out and fire up the forage and hammer out some steel. So I hope that's what you mean, because otherwise, I'm not sure. Yes, there's also like to doing models. We do some model streams, building models. Oh, legal wise, okay. Well, I hope that answered it. Morals are up. Morels are up. Yeah, I'm not. That stuff's scary to me because there's so many mushrooms that'll kill you. Ghostery says avoid that as a former professional court reporter. Yeah, like I said, I just want to talk about and take a look at it. We'll take a look at it tonight real quick. And we'll go from there. So yeah, it's 10:30. I'll see you here. Sean likes droning Ukrainians in trenches. I mean, yes, I'm not a fan of the salami ukulele. So nothing that looks like a morel will kill you. Well, it would be nice if Sean liked doing FLSA exemption defenses. That's a hard, that's normally sourced out to firms in this area. But J-Rock, so when I went to school at Toledo, you had to write 2 papers. And one of my papers was on labor law. And I booked 2 classes. I got the highest grade. And that's actually, yes, in law school, we're such a bunch of fucking psychopaths. There's an award if you get the highest grade in the class. I got 2 of those. One was in legal ethics, and the second one was in labor law. And labor law is so fucking cool. Section 7 of the Fair Labor Standards Act is so cool. I mean, there's so much shit you can do in labor law. It's a sandbox. It is neat. There's ways you can fight. I mean, it's all commie claptrap that you're fighting against, but there's a lot actually employers can do and defend against. But I'd love to do that stuff. I actually wanted to do that stuff, but I couldn't find any places that would hire me. So kind of sucked. You got a food clients getting sued like crazy under the FLSA. Well, I wish I could do that. That would be fun stuff. So, all right, guys. So, yes, well, Section 7. Well, one night we'll do a stream on the Fair Labor Standards Act and labor law, and you guys will understand how much bullshit it is. But I'm done talking. 10:30. I will see you here, chat. It's what we're gonna do. And remember, until next time, even if Karen Reed did it, she's still not guilty. Good night, chat.